Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping the manhwa Reborn as a character that never existed. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, it really helps us a lot. Enjoy! We start in the bedroom of an elegant and gracious lady who has just given birth to a little baby girl named Luina. But upon meeting the baby, her sibling Thalia seems upset. Not exactly the reaction you'd hope from a big sister. As it turns out, Luina Remedio is the protagonist of a novel created by none other than Thalia herself. Her mother, Roxana, invites little Thalia over to meet the new addition to their family. Roxana, Luina, and her father Julian are all characters created by Thalia for her novel. But something unbelievable happened. 4 years ago, she was killed in a traffic accident and was reborn inside her own story. Kind of insane, right? You might think that it would be a dream come true for a writer, but Thalia arrived in the world of her own creation as a character who never existed. In her story, there are 3 families who exist to protect the world from evil spirits. There is the Imperial House of Acer, who acts as guardians, the Royal House of Celis, the Purifiers, and the House of Duke Remetio, that's Julian, who are healers. In the original book, the protagonists are one child from each of these families, including Thalia, and 2 boys named Aegis and Rayan. As a writer, Thalia was famous for using cruel plot lines to torture her characters. Which sounds like a very good romance author, honestly. So the day Luina was born, Thalia's sadness came from knowing all the hardships that baby would have to endure. And the fact that she designed it all herself, she can't help but feel guilty. Thalia, or Tilly for short, is currently 4 years old. So obviously, she's always a little sleepy. Unfortunately, her adoring father is always cutting her nap time short. Although he's literally the prime minister, he says he'd prefer to be fired so that he can always be with his precious Tilly. That's cute, Julian, but don't you have a country to run? While father and daughter are in the gardens together, Julian asks his little girl if she'll live with him forever. That evening, while tucked up in bed, Tilly brings it up, and her mother asks if she wants to or not. Kind of seems like this is more than just a simple affectionate promise, but Tilly responds that yes, she wants to live with the whole family forever. Her mother Roxanne is touched and explains that he probably asked that because of a prince from a neighboring kingdom who has been separated from his father. As the creator of this world, Tilly knows exactly what they're referring to. Given the current timeline, she can guess that Rayan Celis is about to arrive in the Empire. In the kingdom of Celis, Rayan's father is the king, but really it's his stepmother who holds the real power. And she will do just about anything to secure the throne for her own son. So to protect his son, the king had no choice but to send him away using his studies as an excuse. That is so messed up. Why are manhwa parents always so awful? Just treat your kids right, guys. It's not hard. As I'm sure you can guess, Rayan has had a pretty miserable childhood thus far. The year he's about to spend with Aegis Acer is the best he'll ever have. Rayan and Tilly are about the same age, so I guess it's natural that her father would sympathize with the poor kid. While he's in his office wondering about the state of the kingdom of Celis, his daughter bursts in and immediately makes him smile. For once, Tilly is all smiles and eager to play with her dad, but she doesn't want to play dress-up or tea time like normal girls. No, Tilly wants to play a hostage situation with her toy bunny, because of course she does. That's authors for you. They're always looking to amp up the drama. She titles herself the Demon Queen and tells her dad that the bunny is a prince from a neighboring kingdom. If Julian saves the bunny, he'll have a good relationship with the kingdom and could even own it himself. Do you see where this is going? While Tilly is making her dad run laps around the estate for her own amusement, Aegis is being told he and the eldest Remetio daughter are about to spend a lot more time together. Which the little boy is pretty happy about, since his dad said Tilly would one day be his bride. Wait, what? Does Tilly know that? I mean, I know she literally wrote the story, but are her characters going off script? That evening, Julian, Roxana, and Tilly are having dinner together. Julian makes a not-so-subtle suggestion that his daughter accompany them to the Imperial Palace. She immediately says no, because she's a girl boss and can do whatever she wants. But when Tilly overhears her mother discussing the engagement, she starts to freak out. This is definitely not part of the original story. In the novel, Aegis has a huge crush on Luina, so she's worried that if she accepts an engagement, there might be issues with her sister in the future. Although honestly, I'm not sure that's her biggest concern right now. isn't it more important to figure out if she even wants to marry this Aegis kid? Especially since he's a future emperor, and that would make her empress someday. In an effort to stick to the original plot, Tilly agrees to go to the Imperial Palace so that she can meet Aegis and make him hate her. A few days later, the fated trip takes place. Tilly is immediately a hit with the Empress and her son, and Aegis is all charm and gentlemanly manners. It's going to be hard to turn this boy away when he grows up. The adults discuss the engagement and admit they all think it's too soon to be talking about anything serious given the kids are literally 4 years old. Finally, someone's speaking some sense. Just to really drive the point home, Tilly tells Aegis to his face that he's not her type, which is kind of harsh. I mean, look at that kid. He's the sweetest thing I've ever seen, and he's going to be emperor someday. I'm starting to think Tilly's got the wrong idea, honestly. She's not holding back either. When Aegis points out that he gave her his strawberry, she offers to spit it back out. Her mother, Roxana, quickly takes her outside to walk off her tiny toddler rage. Roxana promises her daughter that she'll never force them to marry. The only reason the parents wanted their kids to meet in the first place is because Aegis is kind of lonely. As the Imperial Prince, he has plenty of people doting on him, but no one his own age to treat him like a normal kid. Tilly knows all this. She literally designed his character to be that way. So the least she can do is be his friend, just as long as there are no more conspiring marriage plots. When she returns to the others, Aegis is waiting with an apology and a basket full of strawberries, and who could refuse that? They agree to be friends, but fast forward 2 months, and Tilly is already bored out of her mind. All they ever do is eat snacks, take walks, and read storybooks. One afternoon, while he's reading Cinderella, Aegis unexpectedly asks her to dance with him, and he really goes the full 9 yards. Waiting outside for them is a painter, a pianist, and even the Empress sitting by to watch, so no pressure, kids. Once they start to dance, Tilly accidentally steps on Aegis's foot. I'm not sure why, but it seems to set her off, and she becomes withdrawn and despondent after that. The next day, she's back as her usual disinterested self, while the prince is trying his hardest to please her. He suggests they go for a walk in the garden and even offers to give her a piggyback. Sometimes I forget which one is the higher status. It's really Tilly receiving the royal treatment. While they're walking, Aegis asks about little Luina, saying he used to want a younger sibling, but now that he has Tilly, he's satisfied. I guess they are kind of like siblings, at least in the way that they bicker. But Tilly doesn't like him thinking of her as a sister and throws a straw. Trying to backpedal, Aegis says he was only joking and that he really likes her, and no one makes him smile the way she does. Jeez, buddy, pump the brakes. Romantics aside, he seems to feel more comfortable with her than anyone else. Out of his other friends, no one else understands what it's like to be the child of one of the big 3 families that the whole empire depends on. Obviously, Tilly doesn't really like that. Maybe because she's not Thalia Ramatio. She wants to be liked for more than just this character she's playing. But Aegis isn't stupid. He notes her reaction and asks outright if Tilly hates him. The truth is that actually, she finds it hard to be around him. When Aegis was just a character, it made sense for him to be selfless and perfect and always thinking about others. But now that he's a real person, Tilly feels guilty. He's just a kid after all. If it wasn't for the original plot, maybe he'd be able to be a little more selfish and live for himself. Obviously, she can't say all that to him. So instead, she's kind of frustrated by him. It must be hard to be trapped in such a young body, expected to act like a kid. I know I would have gone crazy by now in Tilly's position. Heading home that evening, Julian informs her that 2 family members are going to have a gathering that weekend. Oh boy, this is sure to go down well. I just know Tilly is going to say something offhand about the prince in front of his father, the emperor. Meanwhile, the imperial family are gathered in Aegis's bedroom after tucking him in for the night. Peleus, the emperor, asks his wife Loti what she thinks of little Tilly, and she calls her an angel. What? Even after she stormed out on her son and acted like an arrogant princess? But maybe that's why she likes her. Loti has been worried about her son for quite some time. He's too mature for his age and always so dedicated to the empire that he picks friends based on their political value. It might be good for him to have someone he can relax around and even take a bit of beating from, and we all know Tilly is more than qualified for that. When the families meet that weekend, she's just as moody as usual, especially since the Emperor just became the third member of her ever-growing fan club. Clearly, she knows her power with these adoring adults. When she sees Julian having a cup of coffee, she immediately turns on the charm to try and get a sip. Hey, Tilly, I don't know if you remember, but you're meant to be a child. You can't have coffee, bestie. Devastated, Tilly instead accepts a donut offered by the Imperial Prince and even splits it in half so they can share it. Soon, she's had all she can stomach of the grown-ups, blushing over their cuteness. So Tilly grabs Aegis to go play outside. The sweet little prince even tries to sneak some coffee for her from the kitchen staff. They only give them the coffee beans, and because he doesn't know any better, Aegis takes a bite of one. Ugh, poor innocent little Aegis. It should be funny, but instead it triggers a memory from Tilly's past in the real world, and she is suddenly sad. Aegis tries to take her hand, and she yells at him, demanding they go home at once. Damn, for someone who's secretly an adult, she sure does act like a baby. Aegis tries to calm her down, but Tilly is resolute. It all just hit her at once. The fact that she really is dead, the memory of her brother holding her hand and weeping. It would be enough to make anyone freak out. She throws her toy bunny at the prince and falls to the ground, sobbing. No matter how hard she tries to adjust to this world, it all feels fake. All she really wants is to wake up in her own body, in her own life, and to see her mother one last time. Whoa, that just got real deep for a second. And it only gets worse from there. Tilly suddenly stops holding back all her deep emotional thoughts and tells Aegis she wishes they weren't friends and that he only likes her because he thinks he should. She accuses him of always doing his duty rather than listening to his feelings, and says that hurts. At the end of the day, she does really like Aegis, but he's just trying to be a good son. Okay, Tilly, let's take a breather. Don't you think that's all a little heavy to dump on a 6-year-old? Poor Aegis has no idea what to do with all that and seems very confused. He says he really does like her, but if someone else had been Duke Ramatio's daughter, maybe he would have treated them the same. I think even I would have trouble answering that, so it's no surprise when he starts to cry. Tilly finally softens up and tells him that she likes him exactly for who he is. She just wants him to be a little more selfish sometimes. After all, he's already a really good person. He'll become a good Imperial Prince either way, so he can afford to relax. And that makes Tilly realize something. Maybe she was put here to fix something, to save someone. Maybe she's been reborn for a reason, to edit the story and take care of the characters. With that in mind, she offers an olive branch to Aegis. If he can like her for Tilly and not for her family name, then they can be friends. Real friends this time. Initially, Aegis shakes his head. Tilly almost gets the claws out again before he admits that he doesn't want to be just friends anymore. He wants to marry her. Oh my. Well, that one's kind of on you, girl. What did you think was going to happen if you told him to listen to his heart? Tilly begins the painstaking process of explaining to a child how marriage works. But Aegis isn't deterred. He simply announces that he will do everything he can to make her love him so that they can be married and live happily ever after. Okay, I know they're still kids, but remind me what's so bad about marrying this kid. He's going to be handsome, he's going to be emperor, and he's already head over heels for her. If I was Tilly, I would already have said yes about 6 times. Tilly basically tells him good luck and turns around to find her mother standing right behind them. She owns up straight away to the whole "I hit the Imperial Prince and future Emperor in the head" thing, which is surprisingly honest of her. She then apologizes to Aegis himself, who is so shocked he can hardly say a word. Roxana apologizes to the prince and smooths it all over, agreeing to take Tilly home early. Meanwhile, a little boy by the name of Rayan is finally making his way into the picture, riding toward the Imperial estate in a carriage all by himself. Currently oblivious to his impending arrival, Tilly has found a new problem to be grumpy about. Her mom is going away on a 10-day trip and almost left without saying goodbye. It seems like the trip has something to do with Rayan, but as a child, there's only so much people will tell her. So she sees her mother off at the gates with a little kiss. Once she's gone, Julian is keen to have some daddy-daughter time and takes her to see a play about the Greek goddess of comedy, after which Thalia is named. Which is a little confusing since the world Tilly wrote was dominated by a religion with only one god. So where did they learn about the ancient Greeks? I'm starting to get a sense that there's more to this rebirth than meets the eye. After the play, they go for dinner where Julian brings up her approaching birthday and asks what she'd like for a present. Tilly can't think of much, but in her past life, her birthday was on Christmas, so she quietly wishes for it to snow on this next birthday. While they're having pasta and steak for dinner, Roxana, the legend, is saving little Rayan's life. Something went wrong on his journey, and she only just grabbed him in time before his carriage went rolling down the mountain. Anyone else smell something fishy? That doesn't look like an accident to me. 11 days after her mother left, Tilly is feeling down and bored. She doesn't want to play or do anything really. That is, until her maid promises her a special brown bread if she gets up and has some fun. Really, Tilly? That's what gets you? I would have thought a girl from a noble family could do better than brown bread, but whatever floats your boat. After a game of dolls, Tilly hears baby Luina crying across the hallway. She's been having a lot more temper tantrums lately, but the moment she sees her big sister, she falls silent. So Tilly sends the maid away, deciding to take care of her herself. They doze off next to each other, and when Tilly wakes up again, she has a lovely pile of bread all to herself. The maid has also brought news. There's a new friend coming to stay at the Remetio house for a while. 3 guesses who that is. Tilly stubbornly answers that she already has a friend, as if there's a limit on that sort of thing. But when her mother's arrival is announced, she races outside to find Roxana, accompanied by none other than Rayan Celis, the male lead of the original novel. But he's supposed to be with Aegis, staying at the Imperial Palace. What's he doing here? Tilly isn't sure why the plot is all mixed up, but she offers Rayan a loaf of her special bread. Actually, she's very friendly, far more friendly than she ever was with Aegis. I guess she has more sympathy because Rayan has endured a lot more cruelty by that age. And you can certainly tell, he seems withdrawn and despondent, and the woman accompanying him isn't especially kind either. She must be the one sent by his evil stepmother to keep an eye on him. With that in mind, Tilly decides to be kind to him and extends a rare hand of friendship. I hope she can bring him out of his shell the way she did with Aegis, cause it looks like this boy could really use a buddy. The moment she takes Rayan's hand, he starts to blush. Tilly asks her mother if they can have a picnic in the garden while they wait for Julian to get home. It sounds perfectly delightful to everyone except that mean-looking woman who arrived with Rayan. I don't know about you guys, but I'm putting my money on that witch. She's clearly working for the boy's stepmother, and if you ask me, she absolutely did not intend for Rayan to get picked up and saved by Roxana. Speaking of the lady, Roxana offers them the annex to stay in, and even provides them a butler for all their needs. Tilly is quick to get him on her side. She offers the butler a position as one of the 4 lords of the Demon Queen if he agrees to plot with her. All this Demon Queen stuff is cute, but when you think about it, Tilly is making some very strategic friends by assigning people roles in her game. Rayan has the potential to be a very powerful figure should he usurp his mother, and this unassuming butler is actually the man who manages Julia Remetio's intelligence organization. Our girl Tilly isn't messing around, she's building a team. Tilly gets a little overexcited by her new friend and the prospect of a picnic. As she's running into the palace, she falls straight on her face in front of Rayan. I guess that little body is still 5 years old, even if she has the mind of an adult novelist. Like the sweet mother she is, Roxana holds her daughter to make her feel better and even gives Rayan a moment in her arms as well. She carries him to see baby Luina and disappears to get changed. The maid in charge of Luina's care introduces herself to Rayan, who seems a little overwhelmed at all the new faces. Actually, he seems a lot overwhelmed. Tilly can hardly resist his cuteness when the kid starts to cry. You have to remember that the character she wrote was one who always had his guard up, who had grown up trusting no one and always acted cold. But maybe this time around he'll have a chance to be softer. Maybe Rayan is the one she's here to save. The only problem is, Rayan is a key part of the original plot in the book. It's him who will one day grow up to save the world from an evil spirit. Maybe he needs to have a harsh childhood in order to do that? But I mean, plenty of stuff has happened that wasn't in the original plot. For starters, Tilly exists. Who's to say what will happen further down the line? Once they're settled, Rayan starts gobbling pastries like there's no tomorrow. Tilly finds out about the attack and why her parents decided to take him in rather than let him stay at the Imperial Palace. She has her own suspicions about who organized the attack, but the author of this story is more interested in why her parents decided to deviate from the plot and take him in themselves. Maybe Julian took her advice to heart when she suggested he look after a prince from the neighboring kingdom? Whatever the reason, I'm glad they have Rayan safe beside them now. The poor boy has clearly been starved and neglected half his life. He doesn't believe them at first that there's dinner to save room for. Tilly tells him that from now on, they're going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, with a few snacks in between, of course. The whole family sits down for a meal that evening. Rayan is clearly tense under the watchful eyes of the governess lady. She has a ridiculous schedule cut out for him too, planning classes all through the day. Obviously, Tilly doesn't want to leave him alone all day with this evil lady, so she decides to join him. Which is pretty selfless if you ask me. If I was reborn as a 5-year-old, the last thing you'd catch me doing is studying. Her parents are so shocked that they insist the kids study together. Apparently, this is the first time Tilly has ever considered taking lessons, which isn't surprising since she has the brain of an adult. The governess is resistant, though she has no choice but to accept. The moment Tilly sits down for her first class, she immediately regrets her decision. As it turns out, Rayan's schoolwork isn't even educational. It's just copying out a text over and over again filled with words way too complex for a kid to understand. It's obvious he can't tell the meaning of the text. This teacher is clearly just being cruel. He's even rude to Rayan's face about how little effort he puts into class. Well, yeah, I don't think I'd be trying very hard either if you asked me to copy out the entire works of Shakespeare 5 times a day. Tilly pressures Rayan into going to the bathroom, at which point she rounds on the teacher. She tears the text in two and asks whose order he's following. The tutor, whose name is Daniel, isn't very intimidated. He thinks she's just some stuck-up rich kid kicking up a fuss because she doesn't want to study. Boy, has he got the wrong girl. Tilly doesn't waste any time. She gives him 2 options. Either he quits his job and leaves the kingdom, effective immediately, or she tells her parents what happened and they punish him for insulting royalty. And by the way, the maximum punishment for insulting royalty is the death penalty. Oh yeah, she's not playing around. When Daniel realizes she's not kidding, she offers a last alternative as a compromise, that he stop abusing Rayan and start giving lessons appropriate for a 5-year-old. Looking at this little girl leaning across the table like a mafia boss, he's obviously going to pick the third option. Unfortunately, Daniel isn't the only one in charge of teaching Rayan. And when they get out of class, he admits that one of the others whipped him 30 times for failing a test. Jeez, this poor kid! His abuse goes deep. Tilly needs to prepare for a long battle if she's so determined to turn his life around. Tilly tells her maid to cancel the rest of the day's classes and takes Rayan outside to play. She makes him a flower wreath and puts it on his head, trying her absolute hardest not to squeal at how cute he looks. When Tilly's maid comes running over, we get a bit of backstory about her character. A childhood friend of Roxana's, she was originally supposed to take her own life after the death of her son and a fallout with her husband. But in this version, she was handed little baby Thalia and given a reason to live. It's only a minor twist in the original plot, but it saved a life. Yet another way Tilly is fixing things for good. She tells the kids that she's had a word with the butler. There will be no more funny business with Rayan's classes from now on. In future, she tells the prince to go straight to Tilly if anything else happens. She is the demon queen after all. Fast forward 1 month and Tilly and Rayan are getting along famously. His strength has improved and he's gained a bit more weight. The teachers were set straight, but that governess woman Matilda is still lurking around, probably reporting back to his wicked stepmother. On a more positive note, Tilly's birthday is just around the corner. She already made that absurd wish about hoping for snow, but for Rayan's sake, she also asks for chocolate chip cookies so that he gets to try some. Aw, these two are so sweet together. On the morning of her birthday, Tilly wakes up feeling heavy and sluggish. Her mother lifts her out of bed, trying to cheer her up. Both her and Julian have the day off, so it's time to have some family fun. Despite Tilly's exhaustion, she is quiet and obedient as the maids wash and dress her. Her mother even fits her with a pretty little tiara. To her surprise, her most ridiculous birthday wish came true. It's actually snowing, even though it's hardly autumn. Apparently, this has nothing to do with Julian. It truly just happened. I can't tell if that's cute or a little ominous. Because of the snow, they decide to have the birthday celebrations inside. Tilly walks downstairs to find a huge 5-tiered cake that's so big it's actually a little absurd. Rayan is there too and has a present just for her, though he drops it when he hears her mention Aegis. Actually, that's a good point. Where has that kid been for the past month? We haven't seen him for a while. Rayan doesn't seem to like the idea of her having another friend. He doesn't even really want to be friends with Aegis himself. Maybe he's just nervous at the idea of having a new face around. He does ask her to hold his hand since he's so shy. Aegis and his mother soon make an appearance. He greets Rayan warmly while the poor kid just sort of stands there looking stressed. Relatable, honestly. While Aegis is all smiles, he does make a point to grab Tilly's other hand. Oh, cute. They're getting possessive already. As any adult trapped inside a child's body would, Tilly feels a little weird blowing out the candles on her cake. Like, is she now 5 or 33? It's kind of freaky to think about. Last year, she wished to wake up from this crazy dream, but this year, her wish is for everyone to have a happy ending like in the book. Then it's time for presents. Aegis got her a cute little stuffed cat, while Rayan got her chocolate cookies, just like she asked. She has a little bite before offering them to the boys, who somehow turn even that into a contest. The Empress also has a gift, a gorgeous jewelry box, inside which is a crown. You have to understand, this is not just a pretty gift. The imperial family gifting the daughter of another family a crown means they're accepting her as the crown princess. Which is sweet and all, but didn't they already call off the engagement? The Empress seems a little uncomfortable, so I guess they can take that to mean this is Peleus' doing? Or maybe his son's. They're both just as stubborn in their obsession with Tilly, after all. The party moves outside where the children play in the snow and their parents watch on the side. The boys are trying to make a snowman, but they seem totally incapable of working together. Aegis doesn't want anything to do with Rayan and vice versa. So Tilly just grabs them herself and lumps them into one big snow person. It's strange to see them butting heads like this. In the original novel, they were best friends, but clearly Tilly's presence has twisted the timeline. It wouldn't be the first time something has changed because of her. It's only a matter of time before one of them acts out. While the kids are fighting over Tilly, Rayan pushes Aegis to the ground. He's not actually hurt or anything. The only damage is when Tilly yells at Rayan, clearly triggering something from his abusive past. She apologizes, but tells him firmly that he shouldn't push a friend like that. It seems like the damage is already done. Rayan apologizes too, but he's withdrawn and almost dark. Seeing how upset it makes Tilly, Aegis announces that he's going to go and make up with him. He also seems to have realized that fighting over Tilly will just make her hate them both, and so he also agrees to be friends with Rayan from now on. Well, that was quick. At least one of these kids is smart and sensible. Tilly is grateful, but she reminds him to put himself first. She wouldn't want him to be friends with Rayan just because he thinks he should. That would make him a pushover. Charming, as usual, Aegis just says he's only a pushover for Tilly because he likes her the most. Once he runs off, Tilly is left wondering how to fix things for Rayan. Of course, she can keep an eye on him and make sure he's protected while he's living with them, but once he goes home, everything will be the same again. According to the original plot, he's only supposed to be away for 1 year. So how the heck is she supposed to turn his life around in just 1 year? This poor girl always has the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she's only 33. Meanwhile, Rayan is having a little cry on Roxana's lap when Aegis walks in. He immediately gets up to apologize to the Imperial Prince, who takes his hand and immediately accepts the apology. But it wouldn't be Aegis if he didn't also mark his territory. He explains to Rayan that he likes Tilly in a special way. The kind of way that gets people married someday. Damn, bro! Way to stake your claim early in the game! But he also reassures him that neither of them will lose Tilly if just because the other one is there. They can all be friends and get along together. Nothing is going to change that. They agree to become friends, and Rayan is so charmed by the little blonde angel that he even agrees to help get Tilly to like him in a special way too. Rayan, buddy? Do you know what you just signed up to? 'Cause I have a strong feeling he has some special feelings of his own. That night, when Tilly goes to bed, her body feels strangely heavy. She wakes up alone to find a strange man in her room with her. But not just any strange man. The guy at the foot of her bed looks like Rayan all grown up, though he says the real Rayan is sound asleep in his room. The man warns her that she'll be in a lot of pain once she wakes up. As it turns out, she used her divine power to make it snow without even realizing she was doing it. And since she's too young to be exercising it just yet, it will cost her body. All of this sounds wrong to Tilly. There's no power that can control the weather, and besides, she's not the one who's meant to inherit the divine power. That's Luina. The stranger is very mysterious and honestly, not very helpful. But he does tell her not to make any more wishes until she becomes an adult, or else the price she pays will be so great that it will start to affect her lifespan. Wow, What a cheerful message to receive on your birthday. Just as he said this, the next morning, Tilly is ill and exhausted. The family doctor says it's just a cold and that she only needs a rest. But that girl has a lot more than just the flu on her mind right now. She's never been sick before. Actually, as a member of one of the three families, she was baptized at birth, giving her access to divine powers and also making her slightly more physically immune than the regular person. So a little cold is kind of a big deal for someone like her. Prince Rayan is so worried that he's been waiting outside her door all morning. He can't come in case he catches it too, so Tilly tells the maid to make him go away and play with all her toys to keep him distracted. She spends a miserable day alone, sweating in her bed. But no one is having a worse time than Julian. He's worried sick, not just about her health, but because he thinks he might know why she's fallen sick. When a child discovers their divine powers, it's called an awakening. The youngest person to ever have one was actually Julian's ancestor, who had an awakening at 10 and died at the age of 22. Yikes. Well, that doesn't make things look good for Tilly. She really needs to hold back on accidentally using her powers if she wants to even reach adulthood. The other reason Julian is nervous is that an early awakening in their children's generation is an omen that the evil spirit is near to returning, which is pretty much exactly as bad as it sounds. With all this on his mind, Julian goes home early to visit his daughter. She's already feeling a lot better after a meal and some medicine. In fact, she's feeling well enough to demand cookies, so the Duke takes Rayan to a sweet shop to pick some up for her. They return with practically an entire store worth of sweets, dumping them on Tilly's bed for when she wakes up. Remind me what's so bad about this fictional life of hers again? I think I'd trade places with her in a heartbeat. The next morning, Tilly is back to her usual smiling self, and the first thing she wants to do is play with her friends. She runs in to find Rayan and Aegis getting along like best buds. They even drew a picture of the three of them together with a snowman. Even though they're happy to see her, they seem a little worried. Since it's not common for someone like them to catch a cold in the first place, they're scared that she'll fall ill again. People are already suspecting an awakening, so she reassures them by saying it's all because she made a wish. She wished for everyone to be happy, and even though it might take a while, eventually it will come true. That's really cute, actually, and I guess it also makes perfect sense to a 5-year-old. Unfortunately, Tilly is playing fast and reckless with this whole wishing situation. She's so desperate to fix the wrongs in her world that she starts planning more wishes to try and help her friends. Almost immediately, she gets another visit from grown-up Rayan, who warns her against the idea. Yeah, listen to him, Tilly. You won't even make it to 18 if you keep this up. He makes her promise not to use her powers at all until she's at least 15. Tilly agrees, but only verbally. She has no intention of keeping that promise. The mysterious Rayan, who is also not Rayan, asks who she is. Who is she to be able to use divine powers while not being a part of Destiny's plan? I think if she told this guy she created this entire world, he'd have an aneurysm. So she kind of just says she doesn't know either. All she knows is that she's here to save someone. What's less clear is whether she can really save a person without altering the fabric of this universe. Then she gives him her real name, the first time she's told anyone since arriving in this world. It's Mir Yun. Mir for dragon, which is insanely cool. I guess these two are kindred spirits of some kind. They seem to be forging a strong bond in all these dream meetings. After telling him her name, Rayan trades her a secret. There actually is someone she must save. Infuriatingly, he doesn't actually tell her who, and just says she'll meet them soon. Great. Thanks for that, Rayan. Helpful as usual. He won't be visiting her dreams anymore either, so he tells her not to use her divine powers and put her health at risk. He leaves her with one last tip, that destiny can change even without the use of her powers. Some things already have changed, and they might end up causing her trouble down the line. Did this guy get a degree in acting mysterious? Seriously, he just keeps dropping vague hints like some sexy Nostradamus. He leaves her with a kiss on the forehead and says goodbye. The next day, Julian is sharing a carriage with Alt de Bels, judge of the Kingdom of Celis. He's come to visit because, and you're not going to believe this, Julian wants to adopt Rayan. He's already filled out the paperwork, and he wants this judge to help convince King Catan Celis to give away his son. De Bels warns him that there are a lot of forces at play in the kingdom right now. Even if Rayan is clearly hated by the king's wife, he's still a prince. It's not like they're going to just give him over. When he gets home, Julian treats both Rayan and Tilly like his own kids. He even bought them both a gift. It doesn't take much for Tilly to realize what her father's plan is. As Tilly, she's excited to have an older brother and keep Rayan safe from his evil relatives. But as the author of the story, she knows that any adoption will be annulled. Apparently, some prophetess has a prophecy which will change everything. But prophecies and adoptions mean nothing if Rayan's evil nanny gets to him first. And it looks like she's out for blood. Tilly isn't stupid. She's already suspicious of the nanny and tutors. Word of the adoption must have spread by now, and they've been strangely quiet, even though it's pretty clear what will happen to them if all goes through. While deep in thought, she bumps into Aegis, who tells her Rayan is in the playroom with a maid. Not wanting to leave him alone for even a moment, Tilly marches straight over. They find him perfectly safe, drawing a gift for Julian. He seems to have swapped allegiances completely. He even calls his father the king a liar who doesn't love him. Well, that's pretty dark for a 6-year-old. All this comes on the back of a letter that was sent from King Catan. He heard about the adoption and said Rayan's mother would be sad in heaven if she found out. Which is twisted if you ask me. Is he trying to gaslight his son into refusing the adoption? The next day, Aegis makes a special effort to find Rayan when he wanders off. It seems like Tilly's urgency has caught on. Now everyone is a little worried about leaving him by himself. Aegis suggests they go and draw a picture for Roxana since he made one for Julian yesterday. It seems like Rayan is really a part of their family now. He even sleeps with them all together that night. Tomorrow, they set off for Luina's baptism. The Duke and Countess Rometio and their daughters will undertake a long journey to meet the prophetess. Rayan will be left with her trusty maid, Mia, while they're away. Everyone thinks it's going to be a short trip, and when they're back, they'll finalize the adoption. But in Tilly's book, everything changes after Luina's baptism. The prophetess will give a prophecy about the return of the evil spirit, and after that, Rayan will have to return home. It seems like everything they build is about to be torn down, and it's all because of Tilly. A few days later, the Rometio family arrive at the prophetess headquarters. They are greeted by Priest Lumos, who takes care of Tilly while Luina and her parents go to the inner sanctum for ablution. Whatever that means. Priest Lumos is very kind to Tilly. He offers her caramel and tells her he was the one to baptize her all those years ago. While he's showing her around the temple, Tilly points to a corridor and asks where it leads. Priest Lumos invites her to go down it. The prophetess awaits, he says, to give a prophecy that only she can hear. Finally, we get a bit of background about this creepy prophetess person. She is one who receives prophecies and will help the protagonists find their paths to fulfilling them. At least, that's what she does in the book. But in the book, Tilly isn't the one to receive the prophecy. Luina is. When she walks in, Tilly finds the prophetess at prayer. She gets to her feet. Before Tilly arrived, she couldn't move a muscle. In the 20 days before a child is to be baptized, the prophetess can't do anything except pray. I bet she was really happy when Tilly walked in then. During her time at prayer, she has visions of the child's life, both past and future, though there's a limit to how far she can see. All her visions stop at the moment where Luina and Rayan get married after defeating the evil spirit and ride off into the sunset together. I wonder why that is. Maybe because a certain author finished the book at that point? The prophetess and Tilly both fall to their knees. She confesses that there is no prophecy. She just lied so that she could see her and ask Tilly about the path she should be taking. Well, this is a little strange. A 1,000-year-old oracle asking a 5-year-old for guidance? Pretty sure it's supposed to be the other way around. The prophetess seems to have lost faith in her religion, so she begs Tilly to answer her prayers and save this world. You know, no pressure or anything. I guess I never thought about it that way before, but the prophetess is right. The happy ever after ending in the book was exactly that, the end of their world as the characters knew it. Maybe this is the real reason she's here? To save them from the evil spirit and make sure their world keeps existing after the story is over? Tilly is a little freaked out, understandably. Despite the prophetess' freaky foresight, she doesn't seem to know the full truth about who Tilly is. So then why is she asking her of all people to save the world? The prophetess gives a surprising answer, because Tilly saved someone the moment she was born. As soon as Roxana gave birth to her eldest daughter, Mia the maid who was fated to take her own life once again had a purpose and changed her fate. And already she is trying to save Rayan. It seems like her true destiny is to save everyone, not just one person in this magical world. So she asks the prophetess what she can do to save her. The ancient woman starts to cry, grateful that the savior she has prayed for is finally here. 20 days after their fateful meeting, Luina is baptized and the original prophecy is given. The evil spirit's return is announced, and the children of this generation are announced as the guardians. To everyone else, this is terrible news. When word reaches the imperial palace, Emperor Peleus is horrified. With that word is a letter sent from the prophetess, telling Peleus to detain Matilda the nanny immediately. Although it appears it might already be too late, little Rayan coughs up a handful of blood before collapsing on the ground beside him. I can't believe she managed it! Surely he's not dead, though. What would that mean for the prophecy? When they reach Matilda, they find her in a similar state of illness. The doctor says it's likely she mishandled the poison she used to harm the prince. Serves her right, that horrible woman. The Emperor orders her to be kept alive for now. More important than her is Rayan. Poor baby Rayan, who is fighting for his life in bed. Aegis is by his bedside crying when Mia arrives, reassuring him that the prince will get better. Even if that is the case, Aegis still feels guilty. Tilly told him to stay by Rayan's side, but he couldn't stop him from being poisoned. They even ate the same food. That Matilda must be really skilled to have still found a way to single him out. Mia tells him it's not his fault, and the two pray together for his speedy recovery. Soon after, Roxana returns from their trip, and she looks mad. She takes over from the Emperor, literally chopping his neck to force him to go to sleep. Sometimes that's just what you gotta do when people won't listen, you know? Tilly rushed right to Rayan as soon as they arrived. If Aegis was feeling guilty, what Tilly is feeling is 10 times worse. This never happened in the original book. Once again, her existence has caused pain and darkness for her loved ones, no matter how hard she tries to save them. Refusing to let him suffer, she touches his cheek and wishes to take his pain away so that he will wake up cured. Oh, Tilly, that's cute and all, but you really need to stop making wishes. This is getting dangerous. 2 days later, the Emperor wakes up from his Roxana-induced sleep. The Empress relays the news of Rayan's recovery. They never found the antidote, but somehow the poison has left his body and he's made a full recovery. Ever since then, Aegis and Tilly have been sick with the flu. So I guess it's pretty obvious what happened there. I guess it's okay if the two of them shared the load. Does this mean Aegis's divine powers have awoken too? Countess Roxana has been leading the investigation in his stead. Although, I don't know if she's been investigating so much as just getting revenge. Apparently, she punched Matilda in the head and gave her a concussion. Although, I really can't blame her, especially after the latest discovery of her treachery. It turns out that awful gaslighting letter from the king was forged by none other than Matilda herself. I knew it! The king isn't exactly Father of the Year, but I knew he wouldn't be that mean. Even worse than the psychological manipulation, she also sprinkled poison powder on the letter before handing it to the prince. He's probably been ingesting it in small amounts for a while now. How you can be so evil to a little kid, I will never know. All I can say is that I hope Matilda gets the ending she deserves. Meanwhile, Tilly and Aegis are sweating out their flu in bed together. She asks the Imperial Prince if he made a wish, and he admits that he prayed to share Rayan's pain. Tilly seems mad, although she doesn't have a leg to stand on considering she did exactly the same thing. She tells him never to make another wish in case he hurts himself, and for once, the prince tells her no. On his last birthday, he wished for them to get married, and he's already sworn to make the same wish next year too. Oh my god, that's adorable, but Aegis, honey, you might not even make it to your marriage if you keep using your divine powers like that. Word reaches the Celis kingdom about their son, and the king is furious. The queen denies all allegations, but it's obvious she had a hand in Matilda's actions. Where else would she have gotten the poison? Or the royal seal for the fake letter? Her cruelty finally pushes King Catan over the edge, and he swears right in front of her that he will make Rayan king someday. Well, that's sweet and all, but what does that mean for the adoption? Back in the Rematio household, Rayan is finally well enough to get out of bed. The Duke and Countess are there to watch him take his first step, like the anxious parents they are. He knows now that the letter was forged and apologizes for hiding it from everyone. He thinks the adoption will be canceled, but apparently, it's already been approved. The king agreed before the prophecy was given, so now he's officially their son. Rayan is grateful, but to their surprise, he wants to go back home. Clearly, he feels a strong sense of duty after the announcement of the evil spirit's return. And I guess it doesn't matter where he is. They'll still be his legal parents, so they can come visit him all the time. When he announces his decision to Aegis and Tilly, they're heartbroken. Tilly straight up refuses to let him leave and even yells at him. Instead of answering, he just hugs them. He knows it was them who saved him and wants to return the favor by protecting the two of them. And in order to do that, he has to go home. He thanks them for everything and says he'll never forget them. In return, Tilly tells him to never give up and reassures him they'll always be there for him no matter what happens. And with that, Rayan leaves. Now it's back to the original duo, Tilly and Aegis. It doesn't take long for Aegis to immediately get back to his #1 priority, making Tilly fall in love with him. Hardly a week after his competition has left, he asks her on a date, plants a kiss on her cheek, and grabs her hand. Whoa there, buddy, slow down. Just because Rayan is gone doesn't mean you can go crazy on the romance. Skip forward a decade or so, and our little Tilly is all grown up. She's taking trips to the big city, teaching waiters how to make coffee, and even walking around in a disguise to hide her identity. Yeah, a lot has changed. Luina is a little more grown up too. The girls have a very loving relationship and are still very close with their parents. After her secret city outing, Tilly has breakfast with them all together. Clearly, she's been forcing just about everyone to learn the art of coffee making since she immediately asks for one from the kitchen staff too. After seeing her cool big sister drinking the stuff, Luina is keen to try it too. She asks if they can take a trip into town together to try it at a cafe. They can also get Aegis a birthday present while they're there. His coming-of-age ceremony is coming up, and it's going to be quite the occasion. I just realized we get to see Aegis all grown up. I wonder if he's still obsessed with marrying Tilly. Is it bad that I kind of hope he is? As it happens, Aegis is still thinking about marriage, just not in the same way as when he was a kid. With his coming of age around the corner, lots of noble families are hoping to secure an alliance by proposing their daughters to him. One such suggestion comes from a young lady Yggdrasil, who not so subtly offers to accompany him to parties in Tilly's place once he becomes an adult. But even Lady Yggdrasil is aware of his feelings for the young Lady Remetio. It seems just about everyone knows his intentions, except her. Meanwhile, Tilly and Luina are back at the very same cafe Tilly visited that morning in disguise. She had a pretty big stake in this business and has built up quite a friendship with one of the waiters, though of course he won't recognize her as Lady Thalia Remetio. Luina can see her thoughts turning while thinking about her business and asks her to loosen up a little. They're out on the town after all. The sisters don't get much of a chance these days to just hang out and be themselves. Tilly has been really caught up with the coffee shop, so she tries to relax a little. The conversation soon turns to Aegis' birthday present. She has no idea how to get him a present, which is both meaningful and not over the top. And Luina isn't exactly helping, making such a big deal of it like this. She herself has decided to get him a horse. You know, the classic present for a boy coming of age. The present situation is also complex because Tilly is trying to signify friendship and not anything too romantic with her gift. You see, things have gotten more tangled since they were little kids. The three families aren't allowed to marry each other in order to ensure the continuation of their bloodlines. So in the end, she goes for cufflinks and buys them with a special set of rubies to make them a little more exciting. After coffee and shopping, the sisters are walking through the town when Luina asks if Tilly has already decided on a gift for her own birthday. Of course, someone as organized as Tilly already has an idea, but she doesn't want to give away the secret just yet. All she's willing to say is that it involves a pair of purple sapphires for something she'll need when she's a little older. Oh, look who's being mysterious now. Seems like Tilly has learned how to play the game all these years she's been growing up. Speaking of which, how old is the actual author by now? In her 40s? Anyone else think it's a little weird to be flirting with a teenager in your 40s? Anyway. On one of their weekly hangouts, which are really just dates if you ask me, Aegis comes out with a shocking confession. He doesn't want to be the Emperor. Tilly is shocked, but she doesn't scold him. At the end of the day, he means enough to her that she would never force him into anything he doesn't want to do. Aww. There's only one teeny little problem with that lovely ideology. Aegis is the only heir to the imperial throne. Plus, he's going to be appointed crown prince during his coming-of-age ceremony. Both seem like pretty big obstacles to me. Aegis explains that he is happy to save the world, but living as the emperor after that feels like a sacrifice, like giving up his own happiness for the sake of his family. The day of the ceremony comes around, and of course, Aegis does his duty by accepting the position of crown prince. While Tilly goes off to change for the banquet, her sister and the new prince concoct a plan to get her in a gorgeous white dress with a tiara to match. Wait, is this what I think it is? Tilly doesn't suspect a thing while she's putting on the elaborate gown and tiara. She doesn't even suspect anything when Aegis comes out wearing literally the exact matching outfit. It's like when they were kids and he invited her to dance in the garden. Oh, I can't. It's too cute. Tilly is really not getting the message, even though he's giving every hint under the sun about marriage and how much he cares for her. Eventually, he just leans right in her ear and says he adores her. He really is the perfect man. How has Tilly refused him up until now? I really don't understand it. Tilly can't feign ignorance anymore. I mean, look at her. She's all dressed up in a matching outfit to compliment Aegis. It's pretty obvious what he's trying to say. Feeling a little uncomfortable, she reminds him that they're not kids anymore. They can't joke around the same way they used to. Aegis doesn't get her point. He was serious then, and he's serious now. As Tilly has guessed, her childhood bestie has been under pressure from all sides to take up his position as heir to the imperial throne and get married as soon as possible before the evil spirit returns. But all he can think about is Tilly. If she would actually take him seriously and they could find a way to be together, then all this prophecy nonsense wouldn't be so hard to handle. He seems determined to put her first and give up his shot at the throne. Besides, isn't saving the world already a pretty big task? I'm pretty sure they can let him off the hook after that. The doors open and Thalia and Aegis step inside the banquet, looking like the future couple of the Empire. Of course, Aegis has to dance with Helena Yggdrasil at some point, and just one look tells Tilly she's got her eye on him. Of course, Aegis doesn't pay attention to anyone but her. The moment their dance is over, he rushes straight back to Tilly to ask if she's okay. She's actually kind of bored, so instead of dancing, she suggests they start drinking. I think I know where this is going. Conveniently, Aegis was gifted several very expensive bottles of liquor for his birthday, so they have plenty to choose from. Tilly already got permission from her parents to stay out late, so it looks like the kids will be having a private after-party of their own. Tilly's drink of choice turns out to be whiskey, because she's just a girl boss like that. Aegis seems a little intimidated by the drink, but Tilly already has a lifetime of experience. Maybe that's why her drinking partner gets wasted so quickly, while she barely feels a thing. Poor guy looks like he's about to pass out. Seeing his condition, Tilly decides it's time to head home. She hands back the tiara, asking if he prepared all this himself. It's pretty obvious. They're matching head to toe, even down to the jewels. But still, Aegis insists he had no part in her outfit. And when she calls him a liar, he points out that she lied to him too. The other day, back when she said she wasn't sure about their futures. Tilly laughs kind of awkwardly, but things suddenly get steamy when Aegis asks if he can kiss her. Don't get your hopes up, guys. Our useless protagonist shuts him down immediately. Seriously, can't she just give in for once? It's his birthday, and he looks more handsome than ever. Luckily, Aegis doesn't leave her much choice, and pretty much takes a kiss from her. At first, it's just a little smooch, but then he goes in for a real one. Tilly is so stunned she can't even speak. Aegis must be one heck of a kisser. After probably the best kiss of her entire life, for some reason, Aegis decides now is a great time to ask about the prophecy she received when she was younger. I guess he was hoping she would let it slip while drunk, except the only drunk person here is him. A little irritated, Tilly decides it's time to leave. She tries to dump the tiara too, but he comes up with some excuse and basically promises to act like nothing ever happened tomorrow, so long as she takes the tiara. Obviously, she doesn't have much choice after that. Just as she's trying to leave, Aegis makes another confession. Every year on his birthday, he's been making the same wish, even though Tilly told him not to. Seems predictable, right? He must have wished that they would get married someday. Well, actually, he only wished that she would love him back. How's that for heartbreaking? The next second, the prince totally passes out. Tilly is finally at the door when she turns around and tells him his wish came true. Oh my gosh, is it just me or did anyone else not see that coming? I really thought she wasn't into him. Now I really want to know how good that kiss was. Despite the magical moment they shared, Tilly is full of regrets the next morning. She must have drank more than she realized, otherwise she would have never kissed him back. And if at this point you're wondering why she's still resisting this incredibly perfect golden retriever prince, let me remind you. Firstly, her character isn't even supposed to exist. Who knows how much she's already messed with the plot just by being here? Secondly, they can't get married because of that stupid pact with the three big families. While her head is spinning, she spots a note on the floor left from the spy Marquess Yggdrasil tried to plant in the Remetio Manor. Of course, Tilly found out and turns it around, sparing the spy and forcing him to become a double agent. In the original novel, the Marquess attempts to assassinate Duke Remetio, since he's her political nemesis. The pain caused provokes Luina to cause her special abilities to waken. Since the Marquess only wants to get rid of any extras, in this version, he'll probably plan to target Luina too, and will leave Tilly alone. Everyone has been waiting for her to inherit special abilities ever since she was given the prophecy. Great, just when things were going so smoothly, now she has to find a way to stop an assassination attempt. Luina and their nanny came knocking on her bedroom door, shocked to find her slightly disheveled and stinking of alcohol. Luina immediately guesses what happened with Aegis last night, which is kind of freaky. It's like she's got a sixth sense for this stuff. Actually, Aegis told her he planned to kiss Tilly on his birthday, so maybe he wasn't quite as drunk and naive as he seemed. The nanny and Luina leave her to get cleaned up, both clearly worried about the eldest Remetio daughter. She's always off doing strange things, and now she's even drinking and kissing boys. I mean, she is a young lady. What else is she supposed to be doing? Luina seems frustrated that no one ever scolds her for disappearing all the time, but her gracious nanny tells her to have faith. They have to trust that she'll always come back, mainly because if they actually tried to confine her, she might run away for real. I wonder if they'd still be so worried if they found out she's been running a successful cafe business on the side. Once the girls meet back up for breakfast, their nanny announces she's planning to stay in town until Tilly's coming-of-age ceremony. After all, there's lots to prepare. There's the guest list to think about, and they need to decide if they're going to go all out or not. We all know Duke Remetio. If he's left unchecked, he'll get carried away and invite everyone in the Empire. But Tilly doesn't have much interest in her birthday. She's lived 2 lives already. Birthdays tend to get a little dull once you've had too many of them. The nanny is flustered. There are so many decisions to make, but Tilly refuses to help with any of them. Since they've still got 6 months left, she promises to write out a guest list and leave all the other details to the nanny. There's only one person she really wants to invite anyway, and I think we all know who that is. On another trip to the cafe, Tilly is shocked to find that her barista in training has finally brewed a perfect cup of coffee. She asks her worker, Sage, for a little favor. See, before he started making coffee, he worked in a slightly more shady industry. Tilly wants to make use of his skills, so she asks for 5 forged ID documents, 2 men and 3 women, all commoners. What on earth is she up to this time? She instructs him to give these documents and plenty of cash to anyone who comes to the cafe and says they're looking for a job. She also wants them to be sent to somewhere peaceful where they won't be found, and tells him to look after them for the next 5 years with the costs from her paycheck. Yikes, she's not asking for much, is she? Sage warns her that all this will cost a small fortune, but we already know Thalia doesn't care about money. She tells him just to focus on his job and enjoy all the benefits of having a crazy rich boss. She's about to run off to her next crazy business venture when he stops her and asks when she's going to take off that hideous wig. Uh-oh, busted. Their employment contract specifically states that Sage isn't allowed to ask about her true identity, but that doesn't mean he can't be curious. She leaves him guessing for now and heads on to the Yggdrasil mansion where she's scheduled to have tea with Helena. And why is she drinking tea with her arch nemesis, you ask? Helena also seems curious. Tilly plays it cool, casually asking her thoughts on the Guardians. Helena realizes she must have caught on to her advances on Aegis, and promises to apologize to the prince for being so forward. But that's not why she's here. Tilly's tone changes, and she tells her to answer the question honestly. She kind of just says they're an important part of their world, and then, to her surprise, Tilly offers her the chance to become one too. It seems like Helena will do just about anything to secure her family's position, so she accepts at once. She thinks Tilly is threatening her, trying to make sure Helena doesn't attempt to steal her spot as crown princess. So she assures Tilly that the Yggdrasil family is completely loyal to the Imperial family and has no ill will against House Remetio. Well, we already know that's a lie. You can literally see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out what Tilly wants here, which move will benefit her family. But something in Tilly's tone tips her off, and she suddenly suspects that her spy has gone rogue. Her opponent promises she's done nothing of the sort. She just wants to give Helena a real chance to escape her house before it crumbles, taking her family along with it. You see, in the original plot, the assassination scheme is revealed to the world after Duke Rematio's death. Naturally, House Yggdrasil is stripped of its title and has all its fortunes confiscated. After her father dies, that leaves poor Helena alone and with no one to depend on, only just after her coming of age. So really, Thalia is just trying to save her from that fate. She hints about her father's plan, how he might be the kind of person who would try to take out the head of another family and any extra heirs. It seems like Helena didn't actually know about the plan, but from the things her father's been saying, she wouldn't put it past him. They switch to coffee because apparently assassination isn't the kind of topic you discuss over tea. Helena starts to put the pieces together, realizing what might become of her family if Tilly's guess is right. Out of nowhere, she pledges herself to Tilly, even offering to kill her own father if it will stop the assassination plot. Which is kind of cute, even though it's not necessary. Tilly isn't planning to stop the assassination. Since her sister's healing abilities will be awakened by the event, she'll end up saving their father anyway. That means it's best to let things play out as they're going to. Except for Helena, who doesn't deserve to go down with her family all because of her father's greed. She gives her a detailed set of instructions, and eventually, Helena stumbles off, looking a little bewildered. That is a lot of information to dump on someone in one afternoon. Tilly is still thinking over their encounter when Aegis walks in unannounced. He was supposed to be at a training camp for 3 months after his birthday, but it turns out he actually asked the Emperor for the time off as a coming-of-age gift. He went to their summer house to relax for all of a few days before he got bored and came running straight back to Tilly. He really is like a golden retriever. He can't stay away from his owner for too long. He even brought a bouquet that matches her eyes. In return, she kind of treats him like a kid. That is, until he places his hand on her cheek and leans in. He really knows how to get a girl's heart going. Tilly's expression changes when she realizes he didn't keep his promise. But he just can't exactly forget his first kiss. She confronts him about that special moment, asking if he remembers the last thing she said to him that day. You know, when she confessed? Of course he remembers. Now she's in an awkward position because everything is out on the table. He actually thought it was a dream at one point, but after realizing it really happened, he came to see her straight away. Now Tilly feels stupid for even mentioning it. He can see it on her face and asks if she would rather pretend it was a dream, as if they can go back to normal now that she confessed her love. Tilly is so embarrassed by the whole thing that she slams her head on the table and refuses to talk to him. She only moves when he slips a few flowers into her hair. He did the same for himself too, which is equal parts adorable and cringe, if you ask me. Tilly is absolutely bright red and can hardly contain herself. But as always, she manages to be the grown-up and brings them back to the serious questions, like what exactly they plan to do now that they both confessed. We already know they can't get married, so how far is this prince willing to go for his first love? There's also the issue of their friendship. What if they break up and fall out? They've been friends their entire lives. It would be devastating to lose each other. Aegis confesses that he doesn't have any intention of marrying her. They don't have to be married to be together anyway. And he doesn't care what role she has to play in the prophecy. If they manage to come back alive from sealing the evil spirit as they're destined to, they might not have much time left before they pay the price for using their abilities. Oof, this took a dark turn. I guess Aegis isn't such a naive young puppy after all. But he's right. If they don't have much time left, they might as well spend it together, right? Aegis also knows that he's not her main priority. He doesn't want to be. He just doesn't want her to keep pushing him away. He encourages her to move in whatever direction she needs to. Wherever she goes, he'll follow. Damn, this boy knows every line in the book. But for a protagonist and a prince who's destined to save the world, he sure seems happy taking a back seat. Like, excuse me, sir, we need you for the plot. The next day, Tilly is all torn about their conversation and just keeps sighing defeatedly. While walking through the halls of the Duke's mansion, she stumbles upon the man of the hour once again, in the middle of his swordsmanship training. He might as well just move in at this point. But since no one knows he's in the capital yet, he wants to stay hidden at the Rematio Manor. He invites Tilly to come and train with him, mentioning that it would be excellent experience for Luina to watch and learn from her. If he puts it like that, she can't refuse. See, what you guys missed when we skipped a decade is how Aegis and Tilly used to go head-to-head, customizing their training to match their particular skill sets, until they had mastered the art of swordsmanship. They haven't had a chance to train together for several years. Plus, they do have a world to save. It might not be such a bad idea to get a little practice in. So Tilly agrees, changes into her sparring clothes, and steps into the ring. Aegis makes a fierce opponent, but if there's anyone who knows him inside and out, it's Tilly. That kind of knowledge comes handy on the battlefield. The other knights are a little flustered to see the delicate Lady Thalia take up her sword again for the first time in years. She trains frequently, but always alone, so no one has had a chance to see her fight. As you probably could have guessed, Tilly makes the first move, striking before Aegis can even blink. He manages to block just in time, but doesn't see her next strike coming. She steps on his boot to catch him off guard, then throws her sword away and swings a punch towards his sword. Aegis is so shocked that he calls a timeout, telling her not to let go of her sword. But Tilly isn't stupid. She's trying to teach him something. Evil spirits don't fight like well-trained knights. They're going to use dirty tactics, so they have to be ready for anything. Back on board, Aegis agrees to go another round, prepared to take whatever she can throw at him. This time, Tilly keeps her sword and goes blow for blow, keeping Aegis on his toes. Despite the difference in size and strength, she manages to get him on the ground, panting, barely able to block her strikes. He admits defeat and realizes he still has a lot to learn. Tilly is truly incredible. How can she be so good at everything? Aegis walks away, clearly upset, but not because of the match. He's upset because even when they were sparring, she wouldn't look him in the eye. A couple days later, Tilly gives her younger sister an early birthday present and gives the prince the dagger she promised him at the same time. Luina asks who she was preparing that ruby gift for, because apparently, she's pretty much forgotten about Rayan after all these years. That's right, speaking of Rayan, seems like it's time for him to make a pretty dramatic return soon, don't you think? Of course, Rayan's fate is tied to the evil spirit, so he'll probably appear only when they need him most. Since she gave them daggers, Tilly gives her sister a little advice on not using up her special abilities in the middle of battle. It's kind of sus how she knows so much about the danger of shortening her life with wishes when she isn't supposed to have any herself. But Tilly just says she read a book on the subject. Yeah, more like she wrote it. Literally the moment Luina falls asleep, Aegis turns back into obsessive boyfriend mode and tells Tilly he loves her. He really will take any and every opportunity, huh? Finally, Luina's actual birthday rolls around. The Remitio family have dinner together to celebrate the occasion, inviting only a few close family friends, including Peleus and his wife. The men immediately get into an argument about who deserves to have a daughter like Luina. All they seem to do is bicker. Peleus passes her a slice of cake, looking literally identical, smiling next to his son. The conversation turns to Luina's debut in society, which she's not particularly looking forward to. She even tries to use Aegis and Tilly's coming-of-age ceremonies as an excuse to hold off the event for another year. Plus, she points out that it would take so long to plan that it would end up overlapping with the end-of-year party. She really doesn't want to debut, does she? Tilly decides to be a good big sister and agrees, suggesting they hold the event at a time when Luina can be the one and only center of attention. The original book, of course, Tilly didn't exist, so Luina's debut happened in winter. But surely a small change to the season won't impact the plot too much. After they've finished eating, Aegis hands his gift to Luina, a pair of earrings that match the ones he gave her sister. Which is kind of weird. She doesn't have her ears pierced yet, so if these are the first ones she wears, she'll have to keep them in for a whole month. But Luina doesn't seem to mind. As usual, she desperately wants to copy her sister, which means Tilly has no choice but to wear the matching set for a month too. I see what you did there, Aegis. Very clever. To Luina's surprise, the next gift comes from Rayan. Another set of earrings in a red box to match Aegis's blue one. Only these earrings are to be worn at her debutante. Luina is still curious about this Rayan guy, since they've never properly met. He's supposed to return when the second prince awakens his abilities, but Tilly knows better than that. It's not that he can't come back, he just doesn't want to. Everything has changed since they were kids, and he has an important role to play in saving this world and everyone in it. That means he probably won't come back until all the Guardians have been awakened. The first Guardian is the Prophetessa, but the second and third have yet to awaken. When all three have made themselves known, an official conference will be held to prepare for war against the evil spirit. Basically, when Rayan comes back, it will be for war, not just to see his childhood besties again. Of course, Aegis and Thalia could visit him in his kingdom if they wanted. Thalia suggested that one of them go as a representative of the Empire, so it would probably make the most sense for Aegis to visit. Besides, as Tilly points out, it's not totally impossible that Rayan will visit as a representative of his own kingdom, and if he does, she can give him the coming-of-age gift that she prepared. Anyway, back to the birthday girl. Julian has one last gift to bestow upon her, a personal carriage. That's like the manhwa equivalent of getting a pony for your birthday. Luina is literally that girl. This also means she finally has the freedom to go out on her own. She wants her first outing to be as a family, but her mother and sister are too busy to come along. Speaking of busy, Tilly has work to attend to, so she excuses herself from the celebration. After a stern look from Luina, Aegis scrambles to follow her and finds out from a maid that she went to her room. The maid says she's fixing her outfit, but when Aegis approaches, he overhears her giving someone instructions to go to the Muse Cafe for money and a fake identity to help them escape. Uh-oh, looks like she's been caught red-handed. Aegis already knows that she's been secretly running the Muse Cafe, but fake documents and escape plans are a pretty big step up from a small business. His first worry is about her getting in trouble. Something like this can ruin her reputation and take her family down with her. But he's more curious than concerned. He's still lurking by the door, trying to eavesdrop when a young maid stumbles out of the room. She nearly has a heart attack when she spots him. The next second, Tilly comes out and covers for them both. She pretends the maid was only helping her adjust her dress, and as always, Aegis plays along. I don't know how he can keep his mouth shut. If I were him, I would be interrogating her right now. Tilly seems suspicious, but she doesn't want to give anything away in case he didn't actually hear their conversation. She tries to act natural and invites him into her room, asking why he followed her out of the dining room. Aegis puts on his best puppy dog smile and says he wants to retie the ribbon on her dress. A pretty perfect excuse, actually, since Aegis is the type to care about small details like that. Plus, this gives him a chance to be close to her again, which, let's be honest, that's always his main motive. As soon as he's finished, he asks what she meant earlier about Rayan, saying that he won't leave his kingdom until things get really serious. Tilly points out that he's not just bound by duty to the prophecy, he also has a younger sibling that he wants to take care of. Obviously, she knows him inside and out. I mean, she literally wrote his character. But Aegis has no idea what he's thinking, and knows nothing of the harsh world where Rayan grew up. That's why she's encouraging him to go and visit. It's important for him to see the dark sides of the world too, now that he's an adult. Aegis has been a bit surprised about her attitude regarding Rayan. It almost seems like she doesn't miss him, but Tilly is just respecting his choices. If he doesn't ever come back to them, then that's fine. It's his life anyway. He has other people to take care of. The conversation turns to Tilly's 4 lords scheme that she started when they were kids. She never actually managed to find the 4th lord and refuses to accept Aegis since he talks back too much. While she's nagging him for being a bad subordinate, Aegis somehow manages to sneak in a kiss. I'm starting to think this guy should write a book on the art of stealing women's hearts. At this point, he's practically a pro. Tilly has only just stopped blushing when he admits that he almost kissed her neck when he was retying her dress. And suddenly Tilly is humiliated all over again. He's been staying at the Remetio estate for a month now, which has proved to be a constant distraction for Tilly and her plans. While she continues scheming away, Aegis starts to look into the Muse Cafe and finds out about Sage, her barista, who used to belong to the Information Guild, if you hadn't already guessed. Aegis is heavily suspicious of this guy and of Tilly for hiring him in the first place. But Sage doesn't have a particularly bad record. Although he was part of the guild for a long time, he doesn't seem to have done anything super shady. Aegis's informant also reveals that he recently purchased a lot of land hidden away in the mountains, which is kind of sus. Immediately, he jumps to conclusions and starts worrying about the potential murder plot. Ugh, he's so innocent. The informant assures him the guild he belonged to wasn't quite that dark, and besides, no one buys an entire plot of land just to hide a body. In his opinion, the informant believes Sage has never done anything worse than identity fraud. And it's not uncommon for nobles like Duke Remetio to hire men with his kind of background for odd jobs here and there. Plus, he's actually doing a pretty good job at running the cafe, so clearly he's a useful guy to have around. The informant suspects this might be the work of Julian, but Aegis isn't fooled. Tilly is smarter than her father and clearly has some master plan she's trying to fulfill. The question is, what is it? He asks the informant to put him in contact with Sage, hoping to find out more by meeting her right-hand man. That's not an issue. The issue is if Tilly finds out. I think we all know she's not the type to let that kind of thing slide. Plus, if she gets caught, she'll only double down and find a way to do things even more sneakily in the future. It's going to take some serious brainstorming to outthink Thalia or Mateo. Meanwhile, her father is so excited about his first outing with little Luina that he can hardly concentrate on the latest council meeting. He really doesn't enjoy sitting in a room with old farts for an hour talking about finances and politics, but he's got a pretty impressive poker face. I guess now we know where Tilly got her acting skills from. He's mainly in a good mood because he's about to take a day off and spend it with his daughter, which seems like welcome news to Marquess Yggdrasil. I forgot how comic book coded this guy is. Seriously, have you ever seen a more classic-looking villain? He's even got the mustache and everything. While the two of them make snide comments about the other's appearances, Julian is given a warning by his butler to keep his temper under control. He's a duke after all. He should act the part. Despite the suspiciously good mood, Julian doesn't think any more about his nemesis until the next day, when he finally gets some time off. While Luina is eagerly awaiting her father out on the lawn, her elder sister is pacing anxiously in the corridors. Of course, she always has work to do, but she ends up deciding to go with Julian and Luina, knowing how much it would mean to her sister. Though, if you ask me, it seems like there's some kind of ulterior motive at play here. Luina is a little surprised, and she changed her mind since she's usually so focused on her work that she never has time for anything else. She even gives her an out and says it's fine if she needs to stay home and take care of business. But Tilly is determined. While reassuring her sister, she notices that Luina is already wearing the earrings Aegis got her. She got her ears pierced already. She really is starting to grow up. Just in time, Julian arrives to break up the lovely atmosphere by gushing over his daughters. As usual, he can't help but act like a child around them, and even sulks like one when Luina mentions Aegis. The prince was supposed to be coming along, but something came up, so he can't make it anymore. Their father makes a comment about him staying in their house for so long, which is kind of fair. I mean, did he even ask before moving in for 2 months? I know their families are close, but I didn't think they were that close. Finally, they start riding off the estate, trying out Luina's brand new carriage for the first time. They're headed for a picnic in the countryside. The weather is perfect, and the vibe is perfect. The only thing that's off is Tilly. See, I told you guys something's up. She seems a little bit uncomfortable, so Luina assumes it's motion sickness and offers to open the window. Even Julian can tell there's something wrong. She's starting to look really pale and sweating an abnormal amount. Did she eat something funny? Is she sick? Suddenly, Tilly takes her sister's hand, clearly trembling, and squeezes her tight. The next thing they know, the carriage jolts and topples to one side. Luina looks up to see her sister protecting her and her father behind them both. Somehow, he got injured in the process. He's acting fine, but there's blood all over his jacket. Oh no, I think I know what this is. Luina is just as confused as we are, wondering how their peaceful carriage ride suddenly got turned upside down. Literally. Julian assures them that the injury isn't as bad as it looks, but Tilly is concerned. This isn't the way things went down in the original. Sensing there may be more unexpected changes up ahead, she decides to take control of the situation. She tells her knights not to flip the carriage, promising to climb out instead. She whispers something to her father and climbs out first, turning to give Luina a hand. Before her sister can take it, an arrow comes sailing through the sky and pierces Tilly's neck. Oh my god, what's going on? This can't be happening right now. Tilly collapses into the carriage like a rag doll, already bleeding a terrifying amount of blood. Her father and sister don't know what to do. Julian just starts shaking her, wondering why she won't open her eyes as the knights regroup around the carriage. Poor Luina. I don't think anyone could recover from seeing their sister shot like that. But more importantly, what about Tilly? Is this all part of her plan, or has something gone horribly, horribly wrong? If by now you're totally lost, don't worry, you're not alone. Let's go back in time for some context, shall we? Remember that day Tilly and Helena Yggdrasil had a little chat over tea? As we all saw, Helena swore to switch sides and foil her father's attempt to assassinate Duke Remetio. Anything as long as it would save her house. Back then, Tilly gave her detailed instructions on what to do when the time came. On the day of the scheduled assassination, she would send someone to House Yggdrasil. As soon as the messenger arrived, Helena was supposed to run straight to the Imperial Palace and confess her father's plot. She would need to act like she knew nothing and beg them to punish her father for his crimes. That would be the only way to protect what little dignity and wealth her family had left, and that way she, her mother, and siblings could still have a somewhat comfortable life. But she really needed to sell it, even begging the jury to let her kill Marquess Yggdrasil with her own 2 hands to clear their family name. Obviously, she doesn't actually have to kill her father, but the point is she needs to totally convince the Emperor and Empress that her father was acting alone. If the plan somehow fell to pieces, Tilly did actually have a backup. I mean, it's Tilly. She always has a backup. If all else failed, Helena was instructed to go to Cafe Muse and ask for a job, where she would be given the money and fake identities to take her family away someplace safe. Fortunately, it seems like Helena was able to follow the plan perfectly, although somehow she got pretty damn beat up along the way. Battered and bruised, she manages to get into the Imperial Palace and secure an audience with the Imperial family. Well, actually, she storms into a highly sensitive military council meeting, but that's not important right now. She reveals the assassination plot and begs them to send aid to Duke Rematio at once, before he can be killed. Little do they realize that the target has switched. The assassins hit Tilly, who is now being cradled in her father's arms. You've got to give it to Julian, though. He's hella smart. The moment he sees Luina's powers awaken, he figures out what's happened. He even knows that Tilly predicted her own death and that she didn't want her sister to sacrifice her lifespan to save her. Yeah, right. If there's a way to bring Tilly back, you best believe they're gonna do it, no matter the cost. Julian tries to keep his youngest daughter calm and explains to her that she is the only one who can save her sister. Luina is too shell-shocked to realize what she just unlocked. And the moment the Duke says she can help, she becomes determined to use these newfound abilities and bring her sister back to life. The Duke gives her little warning before pulling out the arrow. Luina comes in straight away with her healing powers, which is pretty impressive considering she got them about 30 seconds ago. Like, how does she know how to summon them already? Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Maybe she just works well under pressure because Tilly's bleeding stops right away. She clearly wants to heal her completely, but Julian stops her, not wanting her to pay the price for using too much of her powers. Hopefully, she'll be healed just enough to remain stable while they send some knights to escort Luina back to safety. Now that her powers have awoken, she just became one of the most important people in the Empire. Keeping her alive is essential if they want to defeat the evil spirit when it comes. Julian plans to stay and protect his eldest daughter. Luckily, he doesn't have to hold the fort down for long before Roxana and her knights arrive. And not a minute too soon. Back at the Imperial Palace, Aegis is requesting permission to go and arrest Marquess Yggdrasil himself. His father refuses, which is understandable. I mean, there's a pretty serious conflict of interest there, don't you think? The next moment, a messenger arrives with an update and reports that the Rematio family were escorted back to their manor with Roxana's knights. It turns out an explosive had been laid on their path, which overturned the carriage and allowed them to be ambushed. Wow, so Yggdrasil really knew everything, even down to the road they would be taking. When the messenger relays the information about their injuries, Aegis goes pale. I mean, being shot in the throat with an arrow isn't exactly a flesh wound. Even after he hears that Luina's abilities were awakened and she saved her sister's life, Aegis has no choice but to go and see for himself. Peleus understands there's no stopping him now, so he tells the messenger to put his son in charge of the investigation and to send a doctor to the Rematio manor at once. Aegis is caught in the hallway, given the papers and the authority to conduct an official search for the assassin. Now he can't just act on his emotions, he has to actually perform his duty. So instead of following his heart, he orders a search to be conducted. His right-hand man assumes he'll want to cancel his meeting with Sage at the Muse Cafe, but that suddenly makes Aegis think. If they hadn't already heard Helena's confession, where would they begin the investigation? It doesn't take him long to think of the Rematio servants, so he orders the staff to be searched to see if anyone is missing. That person could be the spy. Well, turns out he's not just a pretty face after all. In the meantime, he's going to visit Muse Cafe to find out once and for all what Thalia has been keeping from them all this time. Sage, whose real name is Sage Osborne, is the key to this whole secret side of Tilly that she's managed to hide so well. He's actually the grandson of Baron Osborne, so he grew up in wealth and nobility. But after his grandfather passed away, his parents gave in to drinking and gambling and realized they would bring his house to ruin. Instead of trying to save them, he abandoned his family, gave up his surname, and started his own life on the streets when he was only a child. Talk about a hardcore backstory. His main goal was to earn and save as much as possible, so he joined the Information Guild on the very lowest level. Over the years, he clawed his way up the ranks until he became a middle manager. And that's where Tilly found him. She came to the guild looking for someone to stay by her side long-term, taking care of her dirty work. At the time, Sage wasn't exactly keen on joining her service, but he wasn't given a choice in the matter. The guild sold him off for a high price, mostly because of his family background. Tilly wanted someone with a noble heritage and promised that if he worked hard for 10 years, she would give him enough riches to retire and help him recover his noble name. Doesn't sound like a bad deal if you ask me, but Sage had no interest in refounding the Osborne house. Lucky for Tilly, the money was a big enough incentive for him to agree, and he ended up signing her contract and joining her side. He seems like a smart kid. I wonder if he ever found out her real identity. Well, if not, Aegis is about to spoil the secret. True to his word, he visits Muse Cafe first to interview Sage about his strictly business relationship with Tilly. Sage is the perfect cover, acting like he only knows Thalia as a regular customer with a slight obsession for coffee. Then again, maybe he hasn't connected the dots and that really is all he knows about her. Sage is a little uncomfortable with Aegis staring him down like that. The golden retriever is well and truly gone now. This is the side of him we don't often get to see, the crown prince. He shows up with a question about people coming to the cafe looking for jobs. He's expecting to hear about the maid whose conversation he eavesdropped, but Sage says the person who came was a man. Aegis' right-hand man whispers something in his ear, and the next second he's on his feet, grabbing Sage by the collar. Clearly, the stress of the situation is getting to him. I mean, he still doesn't know if Tilly is alive or dead. His second accidentally tells Aegis not to hurt one of Tilly's men, which finally reveals who Sage's boss has been this whole time. Turns out, he didn't actually know for certain, though it wasn't hard to guess. Aegis also lets slip that Tilly's life is at stake, at which point Sage becomes a lot more cooperative. Though that probably also has something to do with Aegis' terrifying expression. While Sage is spilling all his boss's secrets, a girl in another world wakes up to the sound of her mother's nagging. She doesn't want to go to work today, so she takes her time having breakfast with her family, bickering with her brother while her parents watch them smiling. After breakfast, she goes to sit and write in a cafe, trying to think up a good story to work on. She is just thinking about one with a tragic ending when Tilly appears in the seat across from her. She doesn't say much at first, just refuses to participate in her story this time. Then she says the author's full name, Young. Finally, we know Tilly's real identity, but I don't get it. Wasn't the real author killed in a traffic accident just before Thalia was born? How is she alive now? The line between Tilly and Mur are now pretty blurred. Sitting in this empty cafe, probably inside their own mind, the two sides of their personality confront each other. Tilly is telling Mur to stop ignoring reality, writing her stories instead of facing her fate, and most importantly, apologizing to her parents. Though, it's not exactly clear what she should be apologizing for. Tilly reminds Mur that her life is just as important as her characters' lives. Yes, she has a responsibility to take care of the world she created, but she still has duties to her family, to her loved ones. Mur becomes angry, crying as she yells back at Tilly that she knows all that. Tilly tells her to go back and apologize to her parents at once. But the next thing either of them know, they're back inside the story, waking up as Tilly with a bandaged neck and tears streaming down her throat. Well, that was intense. Is it just me, or does anyone else have no idea what just happened? Tilly opens her eyes to find her mother and sister asleep at her bedside. She has no idea how long she's been asleep, but as soon as she moves, Luina wakes up and starts using her powers. Her sister can't speak because of her wound, so she can't tell her to stop. Later, when the doctor conducts a proper examination, he announces that her vocal cords have been badly damaged. She may never be able to speak again, but there is a chance she can recover. As for the actual wound, it's already healing well on its own, thanks to Luina. Roxana seems relieved, but no one is more grateful to see Tilly open her eyes than her father Julian. He starts crying as soon as he enters the room, hardly even able to speak. She wants so badly to comfort him, but she can't speak. And having just had an otherworldly interaction with her past self, she is feeling a little confused about her place in this world too. Thalia was never meant to exist. She was only brought here to fix the mistakes she made as an author. And because of that, she never truly appreciated the Rematio family for everything they gave her, especially her parents. Maybe that's what Tilly was telling Mur about, appreciating the people she has while she still has them. And right now, that's Thalia's family. Her family. Later that night, she wakes up feeling parched and tries to sit up in bed. Before she can even open her mouth, Aegis grabs her hand from out of the shadows and tells her not to speak. She needs to let her vocal cords recover if she ever wants to use them again. In a weird way, this must be kind of nice for Aegis. He gets to say all the things he's always wanted to tell Tilly, and she can't interrupt him or tell him off. Somehow, though, he can still tell what she wants to hear, and explains exactly what happened since the injury. It's already been 1 whole week since the attack. She's regained consciousness a few times, but never for very long. Usually, she fell straight back asleep afterwards, so everyone is still very worried for her. Thanks to Aegis' efforts, they caught the assassin. The Marquise has been arrested, and just as she planned, Helena's confession saved the Yggdrasil house from falling into ruin. They only got demoted by 1 rank, which is pretty generous considering Tilly literally almost died. Aegis also knows about the maid and her brother who were trying to run away using the fake identities Tilly prepared. He took the liberty of housing them himself since they pretty much confessed everything when he found them. He desperately wants an explanation from her about all of this. The cafe, why she's helping people run away, Sage, the assassination, but she can't say a word right now, and Aegis clearly isn't in his right mind. The poor guy clearly hasn't slept a wink since her attack. So he promises to delay their conversation, though he does warn her that he's not going to look past these things anymore. Tilly falls back asleep, but of course, her protector dutifully stays by her side throughout the night. He's worried about what will happen to her now. Since Luina's powers awakened and Tilly lost her voice, Luina has taken her place as Duke Rematio's heir. I guess that was always going to happen once her abilities were revealed. But it's going to cause some pretty big ripples in the social world, let alone their family. Aegis seems exhausted by it all and very stressed for Tilly. Tears form in his eyes as she wakes up and takes his hand. She starts tracing letters on his skin, telling him to stop crying, but he can't help it at this point. He jokes that it's her fault he's crying in the first place and that he was going to break down when she fell asleep. Right, like she's just going to turn over and shut her eyes after hearing that. He seems to have realized just how little he knows about the woman he loves, and it's scaring him. This whole incident with the assassination has really brought him to the edge of his sanity. He suddenly drops onto the bed, shaking as the tears flow freely. Oh no, our sweet golden retriever! Although, no offense, this isn't about you, King. Tilly is the one who nearly died. Over the next few weeks, Tilly fully regains her consciousness and is slowly able to spend more time with her family while resting. It isn't long before the others demand answers just like Aegis did, and the first thing they want to know is the prophecy she received as a child. They probably suspect, just like Aegis did, that Tilly knew what would happen on the day of the attack, and maybe that knowledge came from the prophecy. They even brought her a quill pen and paper so she can write it out. Tilly doesn't want to explain, but she's literally bedbound and her family plus Aegis are blocking every route of escape. So she gives in and tells them the truth, that there was no prophecy. The prophetessa just begged her to change the fate of this world and protect the Guardians until the time came for them to defeat the evil spirits. She warns them that there will be more attempts on the lives of the Guardians before their real enemies appear. Luina seems distraught, angry with the injustice of the world. And of course, that just makes Tilly feel even worse. After all, she literally wrote the story. This is all because she wanted a little extra angst for her characters. Tilly tries to reassure her sister that things will be okay, despite the horrible state of the world. But it's not particularly comforting coming from a girl who basically tried to sacrifice herself for the plot. Her family also wants to know when the next attack will occur, but Tilly hasn't decided if she wants to tell them yet. She's worried that if they tried to prevent any future assassinations, they'll set off a far worse chain of events. Maybe things just have to happen the way she wrote them? Obviously, Luina is way too young to understand all of this, and she's pretty upset. While Aegis comforts her, Roxana and Julian assure their daughter that they are 100% by her side and ready to share any pain or discomfort she experiences. I know they're technically not her real family, but they're really good parents. And seeing them this upset makes her realize that maybe she should value her own life a little bit more. If her loved ones worry this much, then it might be time to stop all the self-sacrificing nonsense for their sake. Now she's got the right idea. It only took her 2 decades. Aegis and Luina decided to take a walk through the gardens where they have a heart-to-heart about the incident and how much it affected poor Luina. Yeah, can we talk about that, please? This girl is only 15, and in like 2 weeks, she suddenly discovered she has powers, that she has to save the world, and watched her sister basically die in front of her. I'm starting to see why Tilly is so hard on herself about this story. Like, did she have to write it so damn dark? Luina turns to Aegis for advice. She has the title of Guardian, but no idea how she's actually supposed to save the world. It's not like there's a handbook. Aegis just tells her to find a goal and stick to it, something that will keep her motivation to fight for what's right. He also tells her that it's okay to be human. Her goal doesn't have to be totally selfless. Guardians are people too. After hearing that, Luina announces that her only goal is to protect their families. And if that takes saving the whole world to do that, then I guess that's just an added bonus. Aegis has apparently abandoned all his duties as Crown Prince because after comforting Luina, he heads straight to her sister to make her down some particularly nasty medicine. Tilly asks about the maid she was trying to help. Aegis says she's with Sage at the moment, promising that she's well looked after. Tilly can sense that his mood is a little sour and decides to kiss him. You might think that would cheer him up. After all, she's never initiated a kiss before. But Aegis seems even moodier than before and suddenly excuses himself to get some fresh air. Yikes, is she that bad at kissing? Actually, no. It turns out Aegis was just so shocked that he needed a second to blush and bite his lip outside the bedroom door. Now his heart is racing 1,000 miles a minute. He's trying to figure out if he should take advantage of Tilly's sudden romantic streak, whatever the heck that means. Fortunately, Luina catches him outside the door and immediately susses what happened with her excellent love radar. She doesn't miss a thing. A few days later, a letter arrives at the Yggdrasil household, or what's left of it anyway. Most of their servants quit. They don't have much money left and their reputation is ruined, so yeah, things are looking pretty bleak for Helena. As if all that wasn't bad enough, her mother bursts in, asking for an update about the Marquise's trial. They've been trying to find an attorney to defend him in court, asking for an update about the Marquess's trial. They've been trying to find an attorney to defend him in court, more because they have to than because they really want to, but unsurprisingly, no one wants to take the job. Helena's mother is still hoping to reduce her husband's sentence, wanting to do whatever they can to help him. But her daughter doesn't feel the same way. After her little chat with Tilly, she knows full well that the Remetio family won't let the Marquess live. So what's the point in trying to save him? Her mother is clearly having a mental breakdown. Helena suggests she skip town for a while, maybe stay with her parents and file for divorce to keep her name clear. I mean, it's less of a suggestion and more of an order. Looks like the Yggdrasil family has a new head honcho. After her mother disappears, the arrival of Lady Thalia Remetio is announced, sending Helena into a bit of a frenzy. She greets Tilly, who also brought Sage with her, surprised to find her communicating via pen and paper. At this point, Tilly can move around pretty comfortably, but to give her voice the best chance of recovery, she needs to stay silent for a while longer. But she didn't just come for a chit-chat. Tilly is actually here to purchase some land from the Yggdrasils and to offer Helena a deal. Tilly always has a deal. After a butler comes in to bring some floral tea, they get down to business, discussing a plot of Yggdrasil land that recently went up for sale near the mountains. Because of their close relationship, Helena wants to give her a reasonable price. But they could really do with the money right now. Lucky for her, Tilly doesn't want to do her dirty. In fact, she's willing to pay double the market price for the plot, on one very important condition. She wants to hire Helena. I think we all saw that one coming, though I don't know if Helena has any real skills. Tilly only wants some help with her business and administration affairs, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Technically, she'd be Sage's boss, which he doesn't seem happy about. The conversation somehow turns to Aegis, at which point Helena makes a small confession. The other day, before Tilly was up and moving, he came to ask if it was Tilly who suggested she confess her father's crime. Wow, he's right on her tail. Is there anything he doesn't know? Helena, of course, told him the truth. She couldn't exactly lie to the Crown Prince, though she did at least hide some of the details about Tilly basically sacrificing herself to make the plan work. It was kind of a weird position for Helena, considering how much she used to hate Tilly. When she first told her about the plan, she seemed condescending, acting like she was doing Helena some massive favor by saving her family's reputation. But after finding out that Tilly put her life on the line to pull this mission off, she realized there was much more to her than meets the eye. Now she's even going to be working for her. I don't think it will take long for these two to become unlikely friends. The job Helena will be taking is on managing one of Tilly's estates. She will also act as a guardian for some mysterious person who she hasn't yet revealed. When that person is able to support themselves, she'll ask Helena to pass on the estate she's managed to that person. Sounds pretty simple, right? Plus, she'll be helping with the everyday business too. They offer her a contract with some very generous terms. She'd be an idiot to say no, but still, Helena can't help feeling a little suspicious. Still, Tilly hasn't let her down yet, and her family needs the money, so she agrees and promises to report to Muse Cafe as soon as possible to get started. Just as they finalize the details, the butler announces the arrival of the Crown Prince, who appears to be looking for Tilly. What did I say? He's literally hot on her trail. She's only just left the manor and already he's tracked her down. Is that problematic? I can't tell. Aegis himself walks in, joking that someone in Tilly's condition should be resting in bed. He asks Helena what they've been up to, but it's Sage who explains the situation. Looks like Aegis's bad boy mode really left an impression on that guy. He's willing to tell him anything and everything he wants to know, even when his boss is sitting right there. That's what you get when you hire someone from the wrong side of the tracks. If she wanted loyalty, she shouldn't have hired her assistant from the Information Guild. Anyway, Sage actually shares the same opinion as Aegis and thinks his boss should be resting in bed. But of course, Tilly feels bound by duty to ensure Helena gets the ending she deserves. She wasn't mentioned much after the assassination attempt in the original story, but it's clear she would have suffered greatly. Isn't she lucky that Tilly has made it her mission to give everyone a happy ending? Otherwise, who knows what would have become of her? Having someone cling to you might be a romantic dream for others, but right now, Thalia, or Tilly as everyone likes to call her, feels no such thing. She huffs in her seat, pointing a finger straight at Aegis as she accuses him of spying on her. Aegis, on the other hand, sweats nervously, frantic as he tries to explain the situation. He never meant to spy. It's just that Sage had tipped him off about the meeting. Tilly shrugs, admitting that she went to secure a real estate deal with Helena. Listening to her, Aegis knows there's more to the meeting than what Tilly lets on, but he doesn't press the matter. With a sigh, he wishes that she'd at least bring bodyguards to accompany her next time. After all, there's no telling what could happen. Reckless as she may have been, Aegis can't stand them being at odds. Lightening the atmosphere, he beams at Tilly, inviting her out on a lunch date, an idea that absolutely thrills her. Elsewhere, back at the Sailor's Kingdom, a dark-haired man stands aloof and stoic. It's Rayan! OMG, Rayan is all grown up now! It's been a while since we've seen him make an appearance. From behind him, a voice calls out to him, and he smiles knowingly. Abel, Rayan's little brother, approaches enthusiastically greeting his older brother. Apparently, the two brothers have been summoned by their father, an occurrence that rarely ever happens. As the two make their way to the throne room, Abel happily chats away, suggesting that they spend time together. Trailing behind them is the Minister of Justice, but for some reason, he looks displeased over something. As Rayan removes his weapons, Abel notices a new sword in his possession. It's a gift, his brother says, but Abel knows better. It's from his adoptive family back at the Empire. Inside, their father, the king, hands Rayan an urgent letter. His eyes widen at its contents, crumpling the paper in anger as he storms out the room. His reaction piques Abel's curiosity, but as soon as Abel reads through it, he's equally as fazed. Alone, the king gazes at Abel softly. He knows his son is trying his best to awaken his abilities, but he needs Abel to work a little harder, a request that Abel painfully understands. Outside, Rayan's composure breaks. He confides in his master, the Minister of Justice, informing him of the ambush against the Remetios family. Worry, anger, and vengeance churn in Rayan's stomach all at once. Emotions aside, from the bottom of his heart, he hopes that Tilly is all right. Back at the palace, Abel hangs his head low. His father may not have mentioned anything about his mother, but Abel knows there's no mending their relationship. If only he or Rayan would awaken their abilities already, then maybe, just maybe, they could all play a happy family again. Oh, my poor sweet Abel. Being born into a powerful family really has him in a chokehold. When he snaps himself out of his thoughts, his eyes drift to Rayan's swords. He gathers them in his arms, determined to return them to his brother. But when a servant dares to stop him, Abel's expression instantly hardens. How dare a mere servant try to dictate him? For the life of him, he has no clue why his mother would appoint him with such suffocating and overbearing attendants. Elsewhere, the minister suggests for Rayan to check on Tilly himself, but Rayan refuses. It's a 4-month journey, and he can't afford to leave the palace for so long. Rayan's eyes wander to the rose bushes nearby. He might not be able to visit Tilly, but perhaps he could send her some flowers. Just thinking about arranging a bouquet puts a smile on his face. It's a secret hobby of his, one he picked up from Tilly. All of a sudden, Rayan's expression morphs into a cold, hard glare. For some reason, he's on high alert, and without another moment to waste, he asks the minister for a weapon to use. Uh-oh, what's going on? After a long while, Abel finally finds Rayan in the garden, but he's caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. In one swift move, a dagger is hurled in his direction, and Rayan turns around, his movements almost beastly. Seeing that it's Abel, Rayan is mortified. He rushes to his brother's side, apologizing profusely. A few feet away, Abel catches sight of a man lying motionless in a pool of blood. Turns out, an assassin had come for Rayan in the gardens. Inside, the minister sits with Abel, calming him down. But Abel has other plans. He wants to know who would dare to harm Rayan. The minister hesitates, but he gives him a vague response. There's only one faction that wants Rayan gone, and unfortunately, Abel knows them all too well. His own mother and maternal relatives. Worried, the minister advises Abel not to confront anyone, as it may only provoke the opposition. Still, Abel wonders what he can do to help his brother. He doesn't want politics, he just wants his big brother. The minister softens at Abel's sincerity to help Rayan, but despite Abel's determination, he advises Abel to lie low. There's no telling what dangers await him or Rayan if the Queen's faction finds out that Abel is onto them. Meanwhile, at the Muse Cafe, Tilly shakes her head at the chaos before her. Both Helena and Sage are crying as they tackle each other down. Helena explains that Sage called her a stonehead. Sage, of course, denies this and tries to explain the situation. But to his dismay, he only ends up insulting Helena more. Finally, when everything and everyone has calmed back down, Helena brings forth a document to Tilly. It's the list of unmarried nobles she requested a while back. Scanning the document, Tilly is pleased. So pleased that she offers Helena a bag of coins. But Helena refuses, insisting she was only doing her job. Tilly argues that work this valuable deserves compensation and urges her to accept, reminding her to recognize her worth and stop being a pushover. Cutting through their conversation, Sage asks why Tilly wanted to procure such a document. It's not like she's looking for a husband, right? How absurd, Tilly muses to herself. Why bother resorting to such means when she already has a husband in mind? Ahem. Aegis is looking pretty noble, single, and husband material right now. Clearing her throat, she clarifies that the document isn't for her, but for Luina. Ever since she's awakened her abilities, marriage proposals have been flooding their mail. As her big sister, she wants to scout all these noble bachelors, checking if they're in any way worthy of Luina. That night, back at the Saelus Kingdom, Rayan and his subordinates bury the assassins by a mountainside plot. The whole time, the men question God, wondering how he could ever let the world become so miserable and corrupt. While it's true, Rayan doesn't agree completely. Beyond the kingdom, he's experienced true happiness with Tilly, Aegis, and the Rematios, so maybe God isn't so bad after all. Over the next few days, Tilly spends her days cooped up in the Imperial Library. She hopes to learn more about the three families' abilities, but there's barely any information. What she does discover, though, is that the families aren't as innocent as they seem. As she traces the Saelus family's records, she stumbles across a familiar name, Abel Saelus, Rayan's younger brother. She doesn't know him well, but one thing is certain. Abel could either be her greatest ally or her worst enemy. Please, I want them to be allies so bad! Out of the blue, Tilly is joined by someone at the library. It's Aegis' father, the Emperor. This person is almost like a second father to Tilly, but still, she's not one for small talk. The Emperor chuckles at her straightforwardness, so he gets straight to the point. It's almost Tilly's coming-of-age ceremony, and he wants to know if there's anything specific that she wants to receive. He knows she isn't the type to ask for things, but he tries to push his luck anyway. At this, Tilly exhales a steady breath. Up until now, she's never asked for anything because what she really wants is something too extravagant to be given as a birthday gift. A human rights charter. Our female lead being a human rights advocate? Now that's peak character writing! Hearing this, the Emperor's curiosity is piqued. For one, it's entirely different from what he had in mind. which was to give her another tiara. A contented expression crosses Tilly's face. Human rights charter or shiny tiara, she'd gratefully accept anything. As the two continue talking, their conversation drifts to Aegis. To be honest, the Emperor had always thought that Aegis wouldn't stand a chance against Tilly. This makes her chuckle, a warm smile gracing her lips. She may be a strong, independent woman, but there's no denying that Aegis has actually made her enjoy living life. At the Saelus Kingdom, Abel sits across his mother, a nervous sweat dripping down his neck. He remembers his conversation with the Minister of Justice, fearing the worst might happen if his tongue slips. At all costs, he must never let his mother know that he's on good terms with Rayan. Their conversation starts out wholesome, but very soon, his mother cuts to the chase. It's come to her attention that he's been meeting with the minister quite often, a matter that clearly bothers her. Abel laughs nervously, stating that he's only been running into the minister because of his frequent visits to the central palace. Although he knows that the minister supports Rayan, he admits that he has no intention of bearing animosity towards them. To this, his mother offers a calm smile, but she advises him to avoid them as much as possible. After their conversation, an attendant pipes up, expressing that his mother might just be worried that he's overexerting himself. Although Abel knows this isn't true, he indulges his words, putting on a facade. Come on, is a happy sibling relationship for Abel and Rayan too much to ask? At the training grounds, Aegis huffs in exhaustion. Soon enough, he removes his sweat-soaked shirt, revealing his chiseled torso. An attractive view that welcomes Tilly as soon as she walks in. Seeing her there, Aegis blushes a deep red, embarrassed to be seen in such a state. But Tilly can't seem to take her eyes off him. She even asks him to come closer so she can kiss him, a request that Aegis grants without hesitation. In his arms, Tilly peppers him with kisses all over. Whether it's light pecks or a deep kiss to his lips, Aegis receives it all, his face turning a deeper shade of red with every passing second. Can't blame you, Tilly girl, but get a room, won't you? Although Tilly would gladly keep going, it's Aegis who snaps them both out of it. Finally composing themselves, Tilly informs Aegis that his father joined her at the library. Aegis listens to her happily chat away, but something's off about his demeanor as he cuts their conversation short and suggests they head back to the palace. This confuses Tilly, but she doesn't overthink it. After all, whatever happens, she promised to face her feelings for Aegis this time around. But apart from her decision to do that, she wants to stop running away because it's almost time to fulfill her promise to the prophetess too. Back when she was 5, she promised to grant the prophetess's longtime wish, to live a normal life away from the temple, even if it's just for a day. Although she's never shared that with anyone, Tilly can only hope that Aegis can wait until then. As soon as she grants the prophetess's wish, she promises to finally prioritize Aegis. Days go by, and the day of Tilly's birthday is finally upon the Empire. Luina is first to greet her sister, waking her up enthusiastically as the maids follow suit. As the maids prepare Tilly, everyone is surprised that she wants to change her style for the day. Usually, she'd go for light makeup, but this time, she asks her maids to go crazy. She wants to be the prettiest person there is, because tonight, she finally plans to confess her feelings to Aegis. Took you long enough, girl. Everyone erupts into squeals and cheers, but when a letter from the prophetess arrives, Tilly immediately requests everyone to vacate the room. What Tilly doesn't expect, though, is for the letter to make her jaw drop. In her letter, the prophetess writes to Tilly about changing her mind regarding their promise. She doesn't wish to leave the temple just yet. It's not that she's having second thoughts, but rather, it's because of the head priest's declining health. For now, she wants to stay and take care of her friend instead of gallivanting out and about. As for her wish, she expresses that she doesn't mind if she only lives out a normal life for a day. That'd be more than enough for her. However, if it's not too much trouble, she asks that they postpone its fulfillment until after the return of the evil spirit. By then, she'd be allowed to leave the temple, which means Tilly won't have to sneak her out anymore. Oh, the prophetess has changed a lot. I'm glad she doesn't seem to feel so suffocated inside the temple anymore. Outside Tilly's door, Luina tries to eavesdrop, but she's caught. She asks if Tilly plans to leave them, and Tilly calmly reassures her that she doesn't, and that even if she does, she'll return soon. Once Tilly is all glammed up, Aegis comes to escort her, but when he sees her birthday ensemble, he's at a loss for words. She's without a doubt the belle of the ball, the most breathtaking beauty he's ever seen. The two flirt non-stop, exchanging lovesick looks that forces Luina to intervene. Tilly smiles warmly in response. The last thing she wants is for Luina to feel like a third wheel. True to her word, she keeps Luina close throughout the celebration, entering with her and even asking her for the first dance, much to Aegis's evident surprise. It's a quick fix though, because a single peck on his cheek is enough for him to give in. The momentary display of affection catches Aegis off guard, but not as much as Duke Rematio, who loses all color, clearly unaccustomed to seeing Tilly all affectionate with Aegis. From the sidelines, Aegis watches the siblings, when all of a sudden, a noble lady asks him to dance. Before he can give an answer, Tilly is already by his side, informing the lady that he's promised her the next dance. But with such a beautiful face, even Tilly is in awe. She offers the girl the third dance, but Aegis quickly drags her away, fearing she's become too enthusiastic. Outside, Aegis and Tilly are lovesick birds once again. Gazing into her mesmerizing eyes, he can only wonder when she'll give him an actual kiss. Like a sweet love spell, Tilly admits that she plans to kiss him during their dance. But truthfully, she'd rather do it when they're all alone. After all, she believes that kisses between lovers should be shared in private. Her last statement makes Aegis pause, his cheeks burning up with the reddest hue. It takes him a while to recover, and when he does, Tilly sets her plan in motion. OMG, is this the confession she's been planning? Someone hold my hand, I need emotional support! Before him, Tilly finally confesses her feelings. All these years, he was always the one who was open about his feelings, so this time, she wants to return the gesture. Listening to all this, Aegis finally speaks, expressing that if they were to become official, he'd never want to let her go. He'd never want to leave her side. Tilly lowers her gaze, unsure of how to respond. Yes, she loves him, but she can't promise not to leave just yet. There are still some things she needs to do, endeavors that would take her far away from home for who knows how long. The uncertainty of it all frightens her, which is why she wanted to confess as early as now. She wouldn't be able to stand losing him if she confessed too late. Aegis practically barks out a response, reassuring Tilly he'd never lose feelings for her no matter what. Yet, ironically, that's also an issue. He's so head over heels for her that Tilly wouldn't want his life to revolve all around her. The weight of her words hit Aegis. Tilly had always been the type to pack up and leave, but the fact that she stayed longer and hasn't left yet just to explain her feelings, it just pulls at his heartstrings. Right then and there, he realizes that his love for Tilly greatly surpasses any selfishness within him. He loves her so much that he's willing to let her go, so long as she promises to return. And a promise to return is exactly what Tilly swears to uphold. A promise the two seal with a pinky swear and a kiss. Back inside, nobles gather around Luina, evidently trying to win her favor. Unfortunately for them, she isn't as naive as they think. If high society is as shameless as this, oh boy, Luina would prefer not to debut at all. At this, Roxana chuckles lightly, reminding her that she'd miss an opportunity to wear all of Jan's presents for her. The mention of Jan twists Luina's stomach. Everyone talks so fondly about him, but she barely remembers him. Still, if he's important to Tilly, then he's important to her too. They're all guardians after all. If only the world just wasn't too cruel to guardians like them. As the sun dips in the horizon, Aegis and Tilly muse to themselves about the world and their cruel fate as guardians. Out of the blue, Tilly asks a question so thought-provoking that it catches Aegis off guard. What if the guardians completely destroy the evil spirit instead of merely sealing it? In this world, there was an absolute evil that corrupted everything and everyone. Its name? Spiritalis. Thankfully, with the prophetess's prophecies and the Acer family's abilities, Spiritalis' corruption of human beings was mitigated and undone. Two factors that ultimately played a key role in sealing the evil spirit. As much as they wanted to rid the world of evil completely, they couldn't. The only way to destroy Spiritalis was through life and death. A life to host and trap him, and a death of a guardian draining their life force to defeat him. Now I understand why they think that God is cruel. At present, Tilly mulls it over. If they destroy the spirit once and for all, then the guardians and the three families will finally be free. Not only that, everyone would live peacefully for generations to come. Yet despite her selfless musing, Aegis is unmoved. The price of it all isn't lost on him. One of the guardians, one of them would have to die. He simply nods, but the heaviness in his actions don't go unnoticed by Tilly. She'd never want to impose such a burden on Aegis and the others, especially when she told them not to be pushovers. Whether Aegis agrees or not, Tilly promises to respect his decision. She doesn't want him to sacrifice his life. Not for her, not for the Empire, not for humanity. His choice, she emphasizes, must always be his own. Hearing her words, Aegis turns as red as a tomato. Time and time again, Tilly always manages to win his heart. There's just no winning against her. His whole heart is hers to take. Through bashful laughter, he asks Tilly to marry him. No, he is practically begging at this point. After Tilly's birthday festivities, Luina finds herself dreading the day Mia, their nanny, has to head back home. She wants to make their last few days so worthwhile that she's even willing to tag along on Mia. Tilly is initially stunned to hear Luina's desire to visit the workhouse. Although she doesn't forbid her from going, she gently reminds her about the extent of using her abilities while she's out. Kind-hearted as ever, she might think it's a shame not to use her healing abilities to help everyone, but at the end of the day, Tilly reminds her that it's for her own good. Arriving at the workhouse with Mia, all the children gather around Luina, curiosity steering their every move. They've become so eager and enthusiastic that even the director has to step in, asking them to behave. Inside, the director apologizes for how rowdy the children were acting, but it's no big deal to Mia and Luina. Over tea, the three converse, discussing matters concerning the workhouse. Apparently, the workhouse is a daycare of some sorts. But as Mia checks its ledger, her eyebrows furrow in worry as she notices that the number of caretakers are dwindling with every passing season. The director sighs. Honestly speaking, being a caretaker at the workhouse comes with quite the workload. It's not just the children they have to take care of, but also sick people. And with the low pay, almost nobody wants to be caretakers anymore. The mention of sick people catches Luina's attention. The director explains that sick people are often sent to the workhouse as the last means of care. Sure, hospitals and clinics are effective, but there's no denying that they're costly. This took a depressing turn real fast. Still, the director smiles, not wanting to sound too dejected. Aside from being understaffed, the workhouse is doing quite well, especially thanks to the donations. Shortly after, Luina excuses herself to go check on the children. But as soon as she steps out, a desperate voice cuts through the yard. A woman grovels before Luina, begging her to save her son suffering from a heart condition. It absolutely breaks Luina's heart, but her abilities can only do so little to heal illnesses. Still, the woman persists until both Mia and the director intervene. The woman, Linda, expresses disappointment. Guardians are supposed to protect the people, so why won't Luina heal her son? Mia ushers Luina inside, but the damage has already been done. Linda's words have torn her conscience apart. Outside, the director reveals to Linda the cruel truth. The price Luina pays to use her healing abilities is her own life. Her desperate pleas were equivalent to asking Luina to die in her son's place. The following day, back at the palace, Tilly and Aegis spend some quality time together, but unfortunately, a maid interrupts their moment. The maid informs Tilly that the Empress wishes to see her. Although she doesn't have to go right away, Tilly prefers not to put it off, leaving Aegis wanting to chase after her. If it were up to him, he'd delay all his work to spend more time with Tilly. As much as Tilly wants to take him up on his offer, she resolves to keep them both productive. After all, she doesn't want Aegis to speedrun his list of priorities, otherwise he may just regret it in the long run. She has better self-control than me. I would have stayed in Aegis's arms. At the palace gardens, Empress Charlotte greets Tilly fondly, but the next words out of her mouth leaves Tilly all bashful. She asks about Tilly's brawny nickname for Aegis, wondering if it has anything to do with her son's well-built frame. The Empress chuckles, sharing that she's also had her fair share of eye candy from Aegis's father. But luckily for Tilly, the conversation doesn't get any more embarrassing. On a more serious note, the Empress wants to know more about Tilly's decision. Is she really sure she wants to be tied to the fate of the three families? With Luina being the one to awaken abilities, Tilly need not be bound to the family's obligations to the Empire. She could live a free life. I mean, I get her. Just because Tilly was born a Rematio doesn't mean she should live out what's expected of her. Hearing all this, Tilly confides in the Empress. Truthfully, even if she does already belong to the three families by birth, she doesn't think she'd become half as good an Empress as her. And on the off chance that she and Aegis do succeed the throne, Tilly would probably just want to pass on the duty to their heirs as soon as possible. All that matters to her is Aegis, and enjoying life by his side is all she wants. Having said all that, Tilly offers a timid apology for her selfishness, but to her surprise, the Emperor smiles warmly. As a mother, knowing her son is loved unconditionally is all she could ever wish for. Elsewhere, Luina trains tirelessly until sundown. In her head, she faces a crisis about her destiny as a guardian. Is protecting her loved ones enough? Or does she want to try and save all of humanity too? That night, Luina timidly enters Tilly's room, and immediately Tilly notices her unease. She guesses that something happened at the workhouse. After all, Luina has been acting strangely since her return from there. Caught, Luina concedes. Her sister knows her too well. Taking a seat next to her, she tells Tilly all about her encounter with Linda and the growing guilt in her chest for not being able to help her son in the slightest. Luina, you've come to the right person because our Tilly is the best at giving advice. Awakening her healing abilities, Tilly points out that it's only natural for Luina to want to help the sick, but helping them isn't entirely limited to using her abilities. If that's truly her calling, then why not study medicine and become a doctor? Becoming both a duchess and a doctor all in one? Luina is definitely a complete package. Sure, using her abilities would work, but she'd only be able to save a few hundred at best. But imagine if she were to study medicine and discover a medical breakthrough? Her discovered cure would save thousands of people for generations to come. But even if she doesn't pursue medicine, she could always establish and sponsor a medical school to train more doctors. A gleam of hope sparkles in Luina's eyes. How foolish she was to think that God was so cruel to her when in truth, he gave her the power to save countless lives without sacrificing her own. With an affirming nod, Luina thanks Tilly for her wisdom, promising to think everything through before making her final decision. For now, though, there's one thing she really wants to do. Help Linda's son. Like the big sister that she is, Tilly offers to support Luina's decision, pledging to find a heart specialist for Linda's son. However, she informs her sister that this will be the first and last time she's allowed to personally get involved with an individual. The last thing she wants is for the public to think Luina is a pushover. That night, Tilly personally sets out to find Linda at the workhouse. As promised, she offers to help her son, but on one condition. She must never let anyone know that she received help from House Rematio. The next morning, House Acer and Rematio convenes at the palace about Aegis' visit to the Salus Kingdom. Unexpectedly, the Duke suggests for the second guardian, Luina, to join Aegis' delegation. When Aegis informs the siblings about it, Tilly is shocked. Luina, however, is thrilled. It's the perfect excuse to escape high society. Honestly, Tilly is a bit anxious about the whole thing. She recalls how this never happened in the original novel, so she doesn't know how the events will unfold. Making up her mind, she then decides to come along too, a choice that thrills Aegis. Watching the two being all lovey-dovey with each other again, Luina can't help but roll her eyes. She also refuses to indulge Tilly's teasing, reminding both her and Aegis that she isn't a child anymore. Just then, their conversation is cut short when the designers arrive to style Luina for her debut. Thinking hard, Luina only has one request for them. She wants to look mature. The request itself isn't unreasonable. What Tilly does find unreasonable are the dresses the designers prepared. One by one, Tilly gathers all the designers. The challenge is simple. Make an outfit that suits Luina's aesthetic. Youthful, elegant, and unique. The reward? A blank check. Where do I sign up for that competition? I want a blank check too! Days pass by in a blink of an eye, and before long, it's the day of Luina's debut. The designers definitely outdid themselves because Luina's outfit captures her radiating presence. It's a regal white ensemble with violet and jeweled accents. A youthful yet elegant outfit for the debutante. From afar, Tilly watches Luina with pride. Her heart swells with affection, but it seems hers isn't the only one. From her spot, she sees a young man approaching Luina, and based on Aegis' observation, it looks like he has a crush on her. The young man in question is the eldest son of Count Haddon. He was once part of the Imperial Knights, but he quit, leaving him estranged from his family, who has now named his younger brother as successor to House Haddon. Suddenly, he plants a kiss on Luina's hand, asking her to dance. The gesture itself almost pops Tilly's eyes from their sockets. Immediately, she pulls Aegis to the dance floor, doing what any older sister would do. Eavesdrop! Sneakily, Tilly and Aegis position themselves behind them, but now that Tilly has had a proper look at the guy, she admits he doesn't look too shabby. Just then, Aegis holds her closer, dipping her form to meet his gaze. Only then does she realize that he's jealous. Her heart skips a beat, and with a faint kiss, she reassures Aegis that she's all his. The end of Luina's debut marks the beginning of their journey to Salus Kingdom. The king warmly welcomes the delegation upon their arrival. Beside him are his sons, Rayan and Abel, both looking too formal and stiff. Not wanting the pleasantries to drag on, the king assigns Rayan to care for them during their stay, leaving them in his son's hands. As soon as the king is out of earshot, all formalities drop, and for the first time in years, Rayan smiles warmly. He grins from ear to ear, holding out his arms to Tilly, who beelines straight for a hug. Aw, my babies are finally reunited! Their laughter fills the quiet grounds of the palace, and Rayan can only tease Tilly about how much she's changed. For one, she is definitely way more gentler now. Taking a trip down memory lane, he remembers her fixation on being the Demon Queen. Tilly chuckles and nods along. She shares that she's completed her recruitment for the Four Lords. Sneakily, she even gestures towards Aegis, pointing out that she's managed to kidnap him, the Prince of the Empire. But all fun and games aside, Rayan asks about Tilly's health. Just a while back, he had received news about the ambush, causing his anxiety to spike. Calmly, Tilly reassures him that she's all right. In fact, she's in tip-top shape. Mid-conversation, Tilly waves Luina over, introducing her to Rayan. Luina greets him first, but her demeanor towards him is nothing like Tilly's. She's prim and proper, but it's obvious that she's only nervous. Seeing Luina now, Rayan is at a loss for words for how much she's grown. He reassures her that he doesn't mind the awkwardness between them. It's almost like their first meeting after all, since she was only a baby when they first met. Stepping closer, he bows slightly, leaning close to Luina as he expresses that they should take their time to reacquaint with each other. This gesture alone makes Luina's heart thump uncontrollably. The next morning, Tilly rises early, hoping to train before the day's activities. But as she leaves, a cloaked figure waits by her doorstep. It's Abel. By the looks of it, it seems like he snuck out of his room just to intercept Tilly. Abel apologizes for his rudeness, but he explains that he has no other choice but to meet Tilly secretly. Desperate, he asks for Tilly's assistance to help his brother. If it isn't too troublesome for her, he suggests the idea of entering into a fake engagement with Rayan. What? To Abel, marriage between Tilly and Rayan would be the most ideal way to stop his mother from threatening Rayan's life. Tilly, on the other hand, is evidently puzzled by the request, but she figures that he knows enough to deduce that the palace is divided, and that this is his own way of trying to save Rayan. Keeping a low gaze, Abel admits that he used to be ignorant about the palace's politics, but even now that he's become aware, he can only do so little to help his brother. Admittedly, Tilly understands Abel's helplessness, but still she cannot interact with him so freely because of politics. Most of all, she certainly cannot agree to his request. She's engaged to Aegis after all. The words hit Abel like a truck. His face pales with horror as he realizes that he's still as ignorant as ever. Sheepishly, he apologizes, admitting that he knew nothing about her relationship with Aegis. For a moment, he confides his anxieties to her. He loves his family dearly, but he cannot sit idly by as his mother repeatedly makes attempts on his brother's life. All in the name of putting him, Abel, in power. If there's a solution to end all this and save his brother, he'd gladly take it up. Blunt as ever, Tilly tells him that there's an answer: to assassinate the queen. Abel is mortified by Tilly's words, but she continues. Although such a method would solve the current problem, it's not something neither Rayan nor the Rematios would do. With a reassuring smile, she leaves Abel with some food for thought, to figure out why they never entertained such a solution. Later that day, Rayan and the delegation gather at the palace gardens for some tea. Seeing Rayan munching happily on some sweets, Tilly can't help but tease him. Tilly shares that her father has been pretty protective of her around Aegis these days, making Aegis shudder in fear. She also informs Rayan that Luina has a suitor. By Tilly's insistent questioning, Rayan himself admits that he's never had a girlfriend in the last 15 years. Not gonna lie, I'd definitely volunteer myself to be this distinguished man's girlfriend. Apart from their fun banter, Rayan informs the delegation about some arrangements for the welcoming party. Apparently, it's been decided that one of the Rematio sisters should be escorted by one of the Salis brothers. Hearing this, Luina then jumps at the idea, stating that she wants Rayan to be her escort. Girl, get in line! In 2 days' time, the welcoming party for the delegation is hosted at the Salis Palace. Giving into Luina's request, Rayan escorts her, and the two spend the majority of their time together. From afar, Tilly watches them, but she notices how shy Luina still is. A few feet away, she also notices Abel, and her gaze narrows in caution. She never expected Abel to hold Rayan in high regard. Whether his favor for Rayan is out of guilt or love, Tilly doesn't know. Still, she can't let her guard down around him. Inwardly, she muses about the original novel's plot, remembering how Rayan was possessed by the evil spirit. While possessed, he led the kingdom to its downfall, along with the queen and Abel. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. I hope Tilly succeeds in saving Rayan from that fate. As the party continues into the night, she notices Rayan alone. Turns out Luina had headed inside first, choosing to rest early. With Luina not around, a mischievous smirk flashes on Tilly's lips. She then suggests that she, Rayan, and Aegis sneak out for some drinks. She quickly quips that today is their only chance to have some fun since official delegation work begins the day after. It doesn't take much for Rayan to agree, and soon enough the three find themselves in his room, determined to drink the night away. As the three begin drinking, Tilly tells Rayan how Abel came to ask for help. Hearing this, Rayan chugs down his glass, almost pained by the information. He confides to them that he wants to dominate the kingdom to settle everything. The factions, the politics, and even the matter with Abel. However, he refuses to use violence as a means of achieving his goal. Curious, Aegis wonders how he'll take the throne. Almost instantly, Rayan gives his answer. He'll establish a new system that separates the three families from royal authority. If someone were to succeed the throne, it shouldn't only be based on family heritage. With a clear resolve, he expresses that he'll become king. Not because he's a Salis, but because he wants to. After all, he doesn't want to leave the burden to Abel. At this, Aegis is unable to keep silent. He doesn't want Rayan to sacrifice himself for everyone. True, they've done enough for the people already. To his surprise, Rayan only smiles reassuringly. He explains that he's not sacrificing himself. This is what he wants to do. This is his path, to build a kingdom entirely different from the one created by his abusers. Reassuringly, Aegis pledges to support whatever decision Rayan makes, a gesture that warms Rayan's heart. With all that said, the three continue drinking into the night, enjoying their last day of freedom. As the first light of day seeps into Rayan's room, Tilly groggily awakens first. However, all sense of drowsiness leaves her body when she spots a pool of blood on the floor and realizes Rayan is nowhere to be found. Hastily, she makes her way outside, questioning one of Rayan's men. He hesitates to answer Tilly, but he eventually gives in when she figures out the situation. Just as Tilly thought, the man confirms that there was another assassination attempt last night, and Rayan had taken care of the assassin while she and Aegis slept. Apparently, the assassin was a spy disguised as a servant, and Rayan had no choice but to end him because he'd found out too much already. He tells Tilly where to find Rayan, but he advises her against seeing him, fearing that she'd be frightened to see this side of him. However, Tilly merely shrugs, offended that he'd even doubt the extent of her familial love for Rayan. Following the man's directions, Tilly finds Rayan at the forest by the mountainside. He refuses to meet her gaze, as if ashamed by everything that she's witnessed. But Tilly pays him no mind. She's here to make sure that he isn't hurt. Cupping a hand to his cheek, she wishes that he'd be more honest, that he'd stop hiding his pain from her and Aegis. Unable to hold back, Tilly feels the sting of tears in her eyes. She mutters out an apology to Rayan. Truthfully, she wants to apologize for writing the novel this way, for giving him so much suffering. But for now, she opts with an apology with no explanations, hoping Rayan forgives her regardless. With a genuine smile, Rayan reassures Tilly that he'll always forgive her, even if it's for the reasons she cannot yet share at present. Aww, this sibling relationship is so wholesome. It's making me cry. Later that day, Tilly meets with the Queen. Her intentions? To give her a clear warning, beckoning her to stop everything that she's scheming against Rayan. Unfortunately, Her Majesty shows no remorse. Whether or not being kinder to Rayan will save her own fate, the Queen couldn't care less. Her Majesty laughs, declaring she will do anything for power. Yet Tilly insists that such ambition will only bring destruction. Her Majesty mocks her, saying she does not understand the weight of power. power, she claims, makes everyone crumble and bow before you. After all, absolute control is what she desires most. Realizing it is useless, Tilly gives up trying to reason with her. Explaining anything to someone so self-centered brings no result. As Tilly leaves, Her Majesty wonders what prophecy she has received. If Rayan awakens the power, he will become king, but only if her son also claims the throne. Frustrated, Tilly tells her to become Queen Regent instead of manipulating her child. She gives advice that Her Majesty will never forget. Everyone is the captain of their own ship. No one else should decide their course. She has a point, though. Later, Rayan, Aegis, Luina, and Tilly travel toward a stormy desert. Entering the desert recklessly without the Guardian's special ability means certain death. Before they continue, Tilly asks Rayan to promise they will return alive together. Out of nowhere, Aegis approaches Luina with a serious expression. He asks if she has ever thought about taking the throne. The question leaves her stunned. Luina believes it is impossible since she already holds the title of Duchess. Aegis asks again if she desires to become an empress. He knows her heart better than she expects. Aegis explains that if no member of the Acer family can succeed, the Rematio family will inherit the throne. Luina wonders if he speaks only for Tilly's sake. Doubt quietly settles in her mind. He encourages her gently, saying she has the capabilities of an empress. He does not force her to decide, choosing to wait instead. After all, they have saved the world countless times, and he wonders what more the world could ask of them. Aegis, Tilly, Rayan, and Luina reach their destination together. They are greeted by several servants and warriors waiting for them. Luina then informs them of her identity along with the others. The warriors are honored upon realizing that they have met the second guardian. When Tilly removes the hood covering her face, the warriors are left stunned. Their cheeks turn pink as they stare at her. She looks heavenly and innocent under the light. Aegis notices the scene and glares at the warriors as a warning to back off. He makes it clear that they're ogling the wrong person. Later on, Tilly and Luina bathe together in silence. Out of the blue, Luina asks if Tilly can see her as an Empress Regent. Tilly answers honestly and tells her no. Luina feels saddened by the response, but Tilly explains the heavy responsibilities of an Empress Regent. She tells her that while Luina is capable of becoming a great queen, the role may take away her happiness. Her concern comes from care rather than doubt. Luina reflects deeply on Tilly's words. Tilly leaves her to get dressed and later meets Rayan. Rayan admits he does not know how to win Luina over because everything feels awkward when they're together. Tilly laughs and reassures him that Luina only gets butterflies whenever she hears his voice. Rayan talks about how cute Luina is and how she resembles their mother. He confesses how badly he wants to grow closer to her. Luina hears everything from outside the door. She blushes deeply as Tilly laughs, clearly enjoying the situation. Tilly continues insisting that Luina perfectly matches Rayan's type of woman. Rayan remains unaware that Luina is standing there. Luina blushes even harder knowing she heard his compliments. She hides behind the door, trying to steady her racing heart. Tilly expresses that Rayan's ideal woman is Luina, someone who resembles both Tilly and their mother. She assures Rayan that he should not be distant with Luina. Unbeknownst to them, Luina hears everything, making her heart race uncontrollably. That night, as they lie in bed, Luina asks Tilly why she never mentioned Rayan before. Tilly explains that Rayan became part of her family when Luina was still little. During his childhood, Rayan was abused when he only deserved love. After surviving everything, Rayan had to return to the kingdom. His adoption was cancelled after the prophecy was revealed. He went back for everyone's happiness, not his own. Because of that, Tilly promises to stay with him through thick and thin. She chooses to remain by his side no matter the outcome. That promise binds her deeply to him. Luina knows that Rayan likes her for who she is. Still, she cannot ignore the distance she feels between them. There are things she cannot fully understand, even after Tilly's explanation. Tilly assures her that Rayan has his reasons. She asks Luina to trust him and be patient. She then tells her that they should rest. In a few days, they will return to the Empire. That means leaving Rayan behind on his own. The thought weighs heavily on them. Later, Luina, Tilly, and Aegis prepare to go back. They bid each other farewell, though Tilly cannot hide her worry for Rayan. Rayan reassures her that everything will be fine and asks them to write letters to him. 2 years later, Tilly writes to Rayan once more. She mentions that Luina wishes to succeed the throne in place of Aegis. She also shares that Luina is still dating the gentleman she spoke of before. Tilly continues writing without restraint. She records everything that has happened over the years. After 2 years have passed, she realizes how much she misses him. She also wants to mention about a future wedding, or probably engagement? In the Empire, there's a celebration. Many nobles attend the grand banquet. Tilly, while drinking, thinks about how wonderful the day is for an outdoor wedding. Today is Tilly's engagement ceremony, yet Luina wears a long face on that special day. Luina crosses her arms as she stares at the gentleman she dated before. The man is busy conversing and socializing with everyone around him. The two sisters observe the scene quietly. Luina apologizes to Tilly for her gloomy expression. She wishes she had not invited that man. Tilly shrugs and assures her that she's only holding the ceremony because she is being pestered about it. When they look at Aegis, he seems genuinely happy. Tilly cannot help but feel happy too, though hunger tugs at her. All she has eaten is some candy and a little champagne. Anyone would get hungry from that, especially on their engagement day. Still, Tilly wonders why the gentleman Luina dated wanted to break up when he clearly remains fond of her. The story is that man, Haddon, gave up becoming a knight and chose to be a composer instead. Meanwhile, Luina plans to succeed the throne in place of Aegis. Their paths no longer align, so he gives up on her. Tilly knows Luina needs someone who would never give up on her. That man could not offer such devotion. She feels irritated that he let go without even trying to fight for her. Later on, Aegis places the ring onto Tilly's finger. The celebration continues as the newly engaged couple gives their speech. The atmosphere fills with applause and cheers. Aegis speaks about the first time he and Tilly met. From that moment, he knows he wants her to be his wife. He speaks of protecting the Empire, its people, and the person he loves. Tilly does not feel good listening to his words. She regrets insisting on having the engagement ceremony that day. Guilt settles heavily in her chest. Aegis looks sad and hurt by her reaction. Before he can speak, Tilly pulls him into a kiss. A sudden light appears out of nowhere. What could that be a sign of? A white light appears at the place of celebration during Aegis and Tilly's kiss. Tilly looks up at him in worry. Aegis feels disappointed knowing everything already. People begin muttering around them. Aegis has unleashed his special ability in public. The crowd reacts with shock and amusement. Both of their parents grow worried about the situation. Aegis' father quickly tells everyone to enjoy the banquet. He shifts the focus away from Aegis and his awakened ability. Aegis asks to speak with Tilly alone. They walk together into a private room. Tilly senses that he's upset and feels guilty for being too harsh during the ceremony. His special ability remains visible even inside the closed room. Tilly apologizes to him sincerely. Aegis assures her that he is not angry and does not want an apology. Despite that, he admits he is hurt, deeply sad and afraid. He reaches for her and confesses his fear of her disappearing at any moment. He wishes she would share her thoughts and burdens with him. He reminds her that they're already a couple. He wants to stand beside her no matter what. He believes that what Tilly is holding back is him. Tilly tells him that he is not what is holding her back. She says that if he wants all of her, then he must give all of himself too. She wants him to be honest since he already knew his abilities would awaken soon. She admits that if she had known, she would not have acted that way during their engagement ceremony. Tears fall as she cries her heart out. She tells him she truly wants him and is doing everything for the sake of them both. Aegis softens when he sees her crying. Tilly asks him to promise that, despite their many priorities, he will wait for her. She tells him that when she comes back, she will explain everything about her choice. In exchange, she asks him to think positively. She tells him that he is her world and the man she chose. He should not hesitate to trust her. She wants him to fully commit to their relationship. She asks him to express everything he feels, just as she will. Aegis grows teary and hugs her, understanding her terms. As they hold each other, Tilly feels the same sensation as her divine power. The feeling unsettles her deeply. What could that mean? Divine power is the force that shapes their world according to destiny and maintains its balance. Tilly's divine power is weak, allowing her only to grant wishes, which is far from omnipotence. After their hug, the light surrounding Aegis vanishes. Tilly apologizes to Aegis for ruining their engagement ceremony. He understands that she could not tell him the truth and admits that he used the situation politically as well. The vow he made earlier is meant to warn others not to think about harming her. Aegis envisions a future with the people he loves after defeating the evil spirit. To achieve that future, he must awaken his special ability completely. He admits he would have awakened it sooner if Tilly had told him earlier. He reaches for her and asks how much time they have left. Tilly hesitates before answering that it will take less than a year. Hearing that answer leaves Aegis completely stunned. Aegis wants to prepare a meeting with the kingdom as soon as possible. Before anything else, Tilly informs him that the Queen of Salus will try to kill Rayan for real this time. She really cares about Rayan. If the kingdom begins preparing for war, the Queen of Salus will take advantage of that moment. She knows that once Rayan awakens his abilities, he will become the official successor to the throne. After the evil spirit is sealed, she will no longer be able to kill Rayan to make Abel king. Tilly says they will attack the queen directly rather than from behind. She wants pressure from both the front and the back at the same time. Her bold plan makes Aegis chuckle at her wickedness. Tilly wonders if Aegis is complaining about her idea. Instead, Aegis hugs her and acts like a spoiled child. He jokes that he wanted to be kidnapped by her from the very beginning. Tilly proudly tells him that it was his choice to come. She adds that now he no longer has the option to leave. They hug each other tightly, sharing warmth and reassurance. The palace soon fills with gossip about the future of the Empire. Luina searches for Tilly and Aegis and learns they're in the drawing room. She heads there carrying a bouquet of flowers from Rayan to congratulate them. Luina notices that Rayan has also sent her a letter. She cannot help but secretly compliment him in her heart. When she enters the drawing room, she sees Aegis and Tilly resting together. Luina wishes she could find someone she could give her whole heart to. That longing quietly settles within her chest. Aww. Meanwhile, in Rayan's residence, he shares a tea party with his brother. His brother tells him that Marquis Tahil will support him as the heir to the throne. Abel asks if Rayan is truly fine with that arrangement. Rayan laughs at his brother's worries. He assures Abel that a king does not need excessive support. Instead, he thanks his brother. Rayan explains to his brother why he's thanking him. Marquis Tahil once came to see him personally. The house of the Marquis belongs to his mother's side of the family. The Marquis mentions that his own daughter is the spitting image of Rayan's mother. Their eyes and hair share the same color, though their features are not truly alike. A portrait, after all, is always different from the real person. Marquis Tahil is a snake who only cares about his own benefit. Rayan grows cold just thinking about him. Still, because Abel is engaged to the Marquis's daughter, Rayan can pressure the man through his brother. Abel clenches his fist after hearing the truth. Rayan tells him he does not want Abel to stand on his side, or he will feel guilty. He admits he has been using Abel all this time, and Abel allowed it. Abel wants to blame himself for everything. Rayan quickly assures him that he did nothing wrong. Abel sighs, saying that even if he did nothing wrong, he knows nothing at all. Abel feels responsible for what Rayan went through in his childhood. He remembers kneeling before their mother. He begged that once he awakened his special ability, she would spare Rayan's life. Their mother refused his plea. She insisted that one of them must die. The memory still weighs heavily on Abel's heart. Rayan feels deeply hurt hearing this. He never wants Abel to know the truth for as long as possible. He wants to protect him because he fears Abel will grow distant from him. Rayan realizes that Abel has indeed grown distant. Deep inside, Abel only creates distance to deceive their mother. The brothers wish that they will no longer be distant from each other. Later, Rayan's mother approaches him. She informs him that a message arrives from the Empire. Prince Aegis has awakened his special ability. Rayan confirms that the fight over the throne will end sooner than he expected. He feels glad that Aegis has awakened his powers. Still, a strange emptiness lingers in his chest. His master laughs at his conflicted feelings. He tells Rayan that he will soon be too busy to feel empty. This moment, he says, is only a small stepping stone toward his dreams. His master then mentions Rayan's future marriage. Rayan believes it is impossible to marry for love because of the distance between him and Luina. He finally admits that he truly loves Luina, Tilly's sister. Finally, he admits his feelings! Woohoo! After admitting his feelings to his master, Rayan listens as his master wonders how long he has felt that way toward Luina Rematio. Rayan tries to recall the moments he began sending her flowers and letters. He dismisses his feelings as something he will eventually forget over time. No! His master informs him that Tilly now knows about Aegis' special ability awakening. Rayan is unsurprised, as if he already knew it himself. Since the ability has been publicly exposed, everyone seems eager to visit the Empire to see which prince will awaken a special ability first. That event will determine their fates. His master worries that what Tilly warned about might come true. There will be a coup, and when the queen realizes Abel will not be her puppet, Her only option is to use force. She will eliminate everything that could strengthen Abel's power. She wants him to sit on the throne without influence. Rayan recalls his conversation with Abel about their mother, who never truly loved him and treated him only as a puppet. Rayan finally resolves to speak with the Queen before the Empire meeting. The next day, he meets her for tea. He confronts her about her ambitions, and she admits without hesitation that she wants Abel to become king. The Queen desires power so that no one can speak rudely to her. Rayan cannot believe how shallow her reasoning is for acquiring power. He sees clearly that she is self-centered, thinking only of herself. Rayan explains that his desire for power is for the greater good. The Queen tells him that Tilly said Rayan will awaken his special abilities first. Unlike him, she was not chosen by God to wield such power. She claims that God's will is only an excuse powerful people use to oppress others. She believes there's no divine will, otherwise the world would not be in its current state. The power granted to the three families, she insists, is merely a principle that maintains the world. Still, the three families became kings because they were chosen by God. The Queen wants that power for herself and is willing to sacrifice anything, even her son Abel. Rayan listens silently, understanding her determination and cruelty. After the conversation, Rayan dreams of his mother. The meeting in the kingdom is scheduled for tomorrow. Despite his feelings, he cannot help but think about seeing his mother again. I hope they won't be fighting against each other over the throne. And that's it for today, guys. What did you think? As always, don't forget to like the video and comment for the next part so we know you want more. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for updates. See you in the next one!